Hi, everyone. Welcome in. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. First, of course, I have to thank Dave for welcoming the Friday night GLP-1 panel to On the Pen. It is such an honor. I am so thankful. I'm so thankful. So it's always a treat getting to connect with the community on this platform. We've been doing this for a year on TikTok, and we've got our regulars and everything. So getting to see and interact with everyone here it's always amazing. So I appreciate you tuning in. And if you are watching this live, drop in the chat. Let us know where you're watching from. And for the TikTok fam, if you're here supporting from TikTok, let us know. Drop that in the chat as well. So, hi everyone. My name is Sabrina. I am 43 years old and I have struggled with type 2 diabetes, obesity, breast cancer for several years. And I'm on a mission and hyper focused on healing and correcting all the things that are wrong in my life. And I have connected with some amazing people in this community. And we always chat about ways to improve our lives and heal. So I would like to just continue that conversation on this platform. My content is usually focused around welcoming new GLP-1 users into our community. I do have a little bit of a mama bear tendency towards everyone in this community. I just want to gather and wrap my arms around everyone. So, but let's get this party started and get ready to go with this chat with some of the fellow community members. We're going to chat about our health, our wins, challenges, and everything beyond the scale. Hi, Jay. Hi, Dr. Jay.
Hi.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
How's it going?
I'm so excited. Thank you guys so much for being here. It's such an honor to have a rock star panel up here. The very, very powerful voices within our community. So I appreciate everyone. How's everyone doing?
Wonderful. Thanks
Great.
for
All good. It's an amazing Friday.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's great now that you called me a rock star.
Yeah, really. That makes for a good night. Huh?
Yeah. Does anyone have anything before we start the church announcements? No? Okay. So let's be respectful of each other and allow everyone to finish their thoughts before jumping in. I feel strongly about this being a safe space for the entire community. Let's be mindful of the topics and languages that typically get flagged. If you have not already purchased Dave's book, I highly recommend that you do so. It's available on Amazon. It's glp1book.com. It's digestible. It's a great read. Just check it out. I love it. And so will you. Also, if you are interested in being on the Friday night GLP-1 panel, you'll see a little ticker across the bottom that's just onthepen.com/Sabrina. There is an interest form. I would love for you to fill that form out to have you join us on the panel one day. For those of you who have already filled it out, and if you have not heard from me, it was not capturing emails, so I'm not ignoring you. I just don't know how to reach you. So send me a message on TikTok and I will get you scheduled. And then, also there is a community event on June 21st in Atlanta. There are a handful of tickets left. So if you are interested, it is available in my link tree. We are going to, and you don't even it's not a creator event. It's not an event for a certain telehealth. It's in the community. You could, if you post, if you don't post, if you're one of the tappers, the ones that just show up and support, you are welcome. Everyone is welcome. So, Jay, do you have anything you want to add to that?
It's going to be an amazing event with lots of camaraderie and conversations about our shared experiences on GLP-1 in person. So it's going to be a really great time in Atlanta.
I'm very, very excited. I've met a handful of the people that are up here right now, and there's nothing like it. When you get to give someone a hug that you've connected so deeply with, right? When you make, there's just nothing like it. So if you can go, I think that you should. I'm going to ask that you do. But okay. Oh, and I'm going to try something a little different this week. So if the chat has any questions for the panel, please drop them in the comments. No promises, because sometimes you guys know how we get going. So if we have time, we'll try and get to them. So if you guys have any questions that you want to know from us or you'd like us to answer, please drop them. So with that, Jay, will you please start the introductions with a brief overview of your journey, a non-scale victory, and let everyone know where they can find you.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, I'm Jay. I am 22 months in on a GLP-1 journey. I've been using the medication to treat my type 2 diabetes and lifelong obesity. And it's been absolutely life-changing for me. And I've been sharing my experience on TikTok and a bit here on YouTube as well. And I got to say that my non-scale victory this week has been slanging and clanging those weights in the gym.
Yeah.
I've hit some new personal records on a few different machines, and it feels good. I'm not gonna say I feel stronger, but it feels good.
There's no other feeling like it, right? There for me, when I increase weights or whatever the case is, I mean, seriously, I don't know how to act because I walk around like can't stand. It's horrible. It's horrible. Like, it's a great feeling. It's a great feeling.
I mean, it's mostly a great feeling. There's also the waving noodle arm man feeling as well.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's great.
I love it. Dr. Joy.
Hi, I'm Joy. I have been on tirzepatide, Mounjaro for 2.5 years, something like that. Midway through, I lost 100 pounds with Mounjaro. Then I had gastric bypass for a variety of health reasons, and I was off of it for a couple of months and then right back on. And I'm still on the medication, and I've lost a little over 200 pounds. I struggled with obesity since I was about 20 years old, and I'm 50 now, so it was a long road. Never thought this was possible for myself, and I really do credit the medication even more than the surgery. I teach self-love and inner critic healing on all the places, and especially for people in this community, because I think that we, have a lot of extra challenges. We have to be extra resilient and need some extra TLC. My non-scale victory is that today I submitted a book proposal to my dream publisher. Today was the due date, and I got it in, and I am very excited. Like, I cannot wait to share all of it with you all. It's for you too. Like, it is specifically for this community.
Congratulations.
Yay! Congratulations!
Congrats.
Woohoo!
I'm very excited for you. I can tell you that I will be one of the first people that will be in the book.
We'll have to talk. Maybe you could be in it. You got to write me a testimonial.
Okay, excuse me while I pass out. For those of you who don't know, I am a huge, huge fan of Dr. Joy. She has been integral in my health, like healing journey. I can't even articulate how much she means to me because I didn't even know that I needed to heal until I came across Dr. Joy. She has just opened a big part of my heart, and I will forever be thankful.
Oh, I love you.
I love you too.
Thank you, Sabrina.
You're welcome. Mike?
Hi, I'm Mike. I'm a type 2 diabetic. I've been battling obesity my entire life. My first recollection of realizing I was chubby was at my first communion. It's been that long. I've going to be really precise here today. I am 362 days into my Manjaro journey. 3 more days to my Manjaro-versary. And I am down since my high weight, which is when I was diagnosed with diabetes last February, exactly 99.6. I just want those points, 0.4 to move.
I mean, can't we just round up?
Round up.
Yeah, round up
won't.
at this point. You're right
won't.
there.
So yeah, I'm on TikTok a lot, too much, and I like to try and help build communities there. And my non-scale victory this week, I probably should preface this, a year ago, I was using elevators to get up and down, skipping stairs at work. And I found myself this week taking the stairs, but not even touching the banister, which is a new move for me, like not even bracing myself, which is wild.
That's awesome.
I love that, Mike.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
Awesome.
I'm very proud.
You're on the verge of such exciting things.
Yeah, I know. Very much so.
That's a huge.
Congratulations.
And it was not even a conscious thought. It just, I was walking and I'm like, I'm not touching a banister. This is, how did my brain do this? Like it didn't decide to do it.
Your body did it, Mike, not your brain. Your body did it, right? As it starts to heal, it feels safe and knows you don't need that banister. I'm so proud of you.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Let's go with Coach Tedder.
Hey, Sabrina, and everybody on this panel. I was so excited. Thank you so much for inviting me and humbled. And Mike, my buddy over here, is my new BFF. He's such an encourager and such a connector in the GLP-1 community. So I appreciate that. But anyway, my name is Michelle Tedder, and I'm a nurse. I'm an obesity care advocate. I'm a podcast host of a podcast called Dear Healthcare Provider. And I've recently started a TikTok live weekly. I started out thinking it's only going to be 4 weeks, but I don't think they're going to let me out of it now. And it's the night shift with nurses who are on their GLP-1 journey. So that's been a really fun thing to start over the last couple of weeks too. And so I am also a bariatric patient. I had weight loss surgery in 2017. And also live with type 2, which has been in remission since my weight loss surgery. And I've kept off about 80 pounds for over 7 years. And part of my maintenance plan is I am on Mounjaro. My claim to fame about Mounjaro is that I am a suboptimal responder to the Mounjaro, and I want my extra 40 pounds, but I've got to go for the non-scale victories here. So it's all good. It's all good. And Mike, I can relate to you in terms of the stairs you're talking about today. I know you know this, Mike, but I had a knee replacement in October of 2024, and it has been quite an interesting journey. But I can walk the stairs again better than I could before. So I am so excited about my recovery. But this is a great community. You all are absolutely amazing, and I feel so welcome. And you guys have just embraced me in a very short period of time in this community. So I feel like you all are extended family at this point.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. And just a side note, real quick, I got an opportunity to catch one. I think it was the one that just passed. Your Tuesday, was it? Is it Tuesday that you do your lives?
Tuesday. Tuesday nights at 8:00 Eastern.
It was wonderful. It was so nice. Just getting to hear from nurses who just in this community. It was, if you guys are on TikTok and are available on a Tuesday at 8 Eastern, stop by, because they were speaking words. I mean, like, it was fantastic. It was fantastic. So
Thank you. It was a lot of fun. Thank you. And thank you for your support. I looked in there and I said, oh, I said, look at my girl Sabrina over here. I said, she was getting all the encouragement.
it was fantastic. So
Thank you.
you're welcome. Raina?
Hi, you guys. First of all, thanks for having me. I'm the newbie, so I'm very excited and humbled to be on here. So thank you guys for the opportunity. My name is Raina. I'm a mom of 5, and I've been on this journey. This will make my year anniversary this month, actually, later this month. So I'm very excited, and this medication has just been wonderful for me. Um, Over the last 10 years, I would say I really started to battle with my obesity, and I didn't know where it was coming from. I've been small all my life, and it was all of a sudden. So I'm in the South, and a lot of family members down here will say, "Well, what's going on? Why are you gaining weight?" That sort of thing. Family is sometimes the worst people with you, and so I think with that and being a mom, I just got really comfortable with things, and I just kind of wrote it off as, "Oh, well, it's just keeping up with the kids." But then once I started really trying to exercise and consciously lose the weight, I wasn't losing it, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. Turns out later on, I found out I had PCOS. So I've been on this medication to help with that. And that, along with exercise, I'm down 100 pounds now, before my year is up. And it's been wonderful. So my main non-scale victory, I have two. One is a little weird, but the towel, just getting out of the tub, the towel's fitting. Baby, I
The
can wrap a towel
towel.
around me all
Girl,
the way.
That
And
is
then
a big
some.
one.
girl, you are singing our song. There's not one
Yes.
person up here who does not know what you're talking about.
It
And how
went
about
from
that side
it went
note
from that
hotel
little bit of
robe?
right, that little bit of area kind of like not being in the towel to wait. This towel is wrapped all around me. So that's one. But the biggest one for me is I can keep up with my kids. 3 of our children are still small. They're under 10. So just being able to ride bikes, run, walk with them, and actually keep up is just my biggest thing. And then they're like, "Mama, you're doing good." So they're even noticing it, and they'll come to me with little food items and think, "Is this okay to eat? Is this healthy?" So I'm like, okay, I'm actually rubbing off on them in a positive way. So that's my biggest non-scale.
I love
Definitely.
that. That's
Thank you.
powerful. Both of them are
Thank you.
powerful.
Thank you. I
Nice.
appreciate it. So thank you guys again for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks.
I appreciate very much that you guys have chosen to share your voice. It means a lot to me. So, Chris?
Hey, everybody. My name's Chris, and I have been on Zepbound since May of 2024, and I have lost about 51% of my starting mass in that time. It's about 140 pounds. I am a product manager and a sign language interpreter, and I live in Ohio. Um, with my partner and my dog, who you will probably see in the background at some point. He'll get restless and start pacing here in a minute. And I would say I started struggling with my weight. I think it was in college with the freshman 15 that everybody jokes about. Well, I didn't stop at 15. I kept going, all the way through college. And, over the course of my adult life, I'm 51 now. I have gained and lost a lot of pounds. And the maintaining the weight loss is the harder part. I can lose weight like nobody's business. It's just maintaining it is very, very difficult for me. And so I am very, very hopeful this time around, because I have already I've reached a weight in my adulthood that I've never been before. Like I've never been this healthy before, and that relates to my non-scale victory. So when I started this journey, I was 282 pounds. I had fatty liver. I got winded, going up the stairs and walking my dog, and so when I started this journey, I started hiking about 5 miles every morning at sunrise. I didn't start at 5 miles. I started just walking in my neighborhood and then worked up. And I was chasing the goal of having my Apple Watch to tell me that my cardio fitness was above average. But it was below average, like all the way through that up until this week, actually. And I went for a run because I've started running and pulled up my cardio fitness. I'd stopped checking because I was just like, it's just going to be below average. But out of curiosity, I looked and I finally hit above average cardio fitness. So never thought it would happen for me, but I did. And so that's my NSE for this week.
I freaking love it. I
Way to
love
go. I love that one.
Yes, that's amazing.
Can we call you Cardio Fit Chris now?
Ooh.
No. You know, I change my name on TikTok all the time. My
Yeah, you
nickname, my screen name is always the same. And I thought about trying to put something with the like running or something. And I even used Chat GPT to try to come up with something creative. And I was just like, I'm not there yet. Like I haven't really embraced that as part of my identity yet. So I need a little more time to sit with it before I start naming myself something that's, you know, indicative of fitness or running. But I'll get there.
You will.
Yeah,
You definitely will.
for sure. Miss Jeannie.
Hello, I am Jeannie, and I have been obese my entire life from my earliest memories. In fact, I can remember 201 pounds in sixth grade when they did the mandatory weigh-ins in front of the class. So it just went downhill from there. And I have been dieting my whole life. I have gained and lost like a superstar. And I've had a very wild life, apparently. I didn't realize that till I started talking about it with other people. And they're like, so it's offered me a lot of unique experiences. One of which is like, I've gained and lost a lot. My highest weight was 400 pounds. I've done everything, including the gastric bypass. The lowest I was able to maintain after all of that was around the 250 to 275. Bringing in these medications a couple of years ago. Now I am in maintenance for about a year. And I used to call it my hostage maintenance. I'm just calling it maintenance now because that leads me to my non-scale victory. I've somehow gotten away from, just transitioned away from the diet culture for even the past year when I wasn't losing that last 25 pounds that I wanted to lose. I'm still considered overweight by the BMI, and my body fat percentage is just a little high. I like to think the extra skin is worth at least 10 pounds though. So I never got there. And somehow over the past 4 or 5 months, I've sort of transitioned to, you know what? I want to enjoy life now. I feel great. I'm healthy. I've got the best years with my kid coming up. I'm not going to count the calories. I'm not going to do all the stuff and just live. And I'm really happy with that.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
Jeannie, I'm so proud of you because we have been having this conversation for about a year now, right? And you've come so far with shifting your mindset on this.
Yeah, and I feel like I really have, like, I'm like, why am I doing that? Why am I still spending hours a day counting calories, making sure I get my exercise, doing all that? And I've really transitioned to what do I want to be doing? And it has nothing to do with food and dieting. So
I love that.
That's good.
These non-scale victories are what this is all about, right? That's what this entire journey is about for me, at least. So.
Yeah, and I say, like, because I know what it feels like. Boy, I do know, like, when you get close, and for some of us, like, we want to be that skinny person, right? You want that so bad, and I got to tell you, like, I don't even, like, I'm like, whatever. Like, what do I need to be skinnier for, right? Like, no one that I'd want in my life that matters to. And so there we go.
Yeah. Well, I'm incredibly proud of you, Jeannie, because
Thank you.
You're in such a healthy, like, mindset right now. And I just, that's amazing. So that's really, really good. So hi, everyone. I'm Sabrina. I have been on Manjaro for 20 months now. I am down 34% of my body weight. So that's 91 pounds. From my highest weight, I am down 147. So I have struggled with my weight, obesity, type 2 diabetes. I am a breast cancer survivor. And I am just focused on getting healthy. And I clearly love this community so very much. And am passionate about helping others. So my non-scale victory for this past week. So since I last saw you guys, baby, when I tell you that I have been going through it, I have been going through it. There's personal challenges that I am just struggling with. And I took a step back. I prioritized my mental health. And for me, that's never been a thing. I just continue to pour from an empty cup all the time. And I didn't. I took a step back and focused on getting better and opening up and having a conversation with my husband and kind of just recentering myself. And I love this community. Like 35 people reached out to me like instantly. And I love you guys. But I just needed a moment and I took it. So that's a very, very big deal for me. And I'm very proud of myself.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah.
Thanks. Thank you.
We don't realize it all the time that we need that.
Yes, I spend a lot of my time. So if I'm not working, I'm doing something for this community. I'm filming a video or doing research or coming up with challenges, or it's constantly combing through TikTok, looking for brand new people who we can welcome into our community. You know, like I spend a lot of my time focused on this community. And even when my cup is empty, I still do that. So this was a big change for me, and I feel good. I feel good that I took that step, just to kind of like get it together. So I'm happy that I did.
I hope you continue to do that for yourself too.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so does anyone have anything before we get into the questions?
I would just like to say I saw someone in the comments say that we were a good-looking bunch. So I'm just going to revel in that for a moment.
How can I see the comments? I don't know if I can. I
On
tried to
the
pull it up
right-hand
on my
side.
phone, but it was too distracting.
Right-hand side, it starts on private chat, click on comments.
Oh. Oh, that's awesome. I was in the wrong one.
Is anybody having a lag time in the video?
Oh, it looks like it's a little delayed when she just said that right now for her.
Yeah, Michelle, you are a little bit, but I think you're it.
Really? I'm gonna move my spot just to kind of see if that helps.
Yeah.
Hang on.
Okay. Okay, so while we are waiting for her to come back, we're going to start with the first question, if you guys are good with that. This question was submitted by Jay, and who is like my favorite human on this earth. So everyone who knows me knows that. So, Jay's question is, what do you think people miss out on by narrowly defining success or failure based on the scale alone?
Can you repeat that one more time?
Sure. What do you think people miss out on by narrowly defining success or failure based on the scale alone? So I'm going to jump in on this one because I have said this before, but I want, because this is something that, like, when I saw your question, Jay, I immediately thought of this. from September to January, I didn't get on a scale because it's irrelevant to me. It doesn't mean anything to me, and it has no part for me. This is just for me. It has no part of my journey because I do not have a scale goal. I have a body goal. And both times we're at the doctor's office, so it was inevitable for me. But between that time, I started to physically feel better. I started to, there was a lot of mental clarity. There were a lot of non-scale victories, and I went down 2 gene sizes from September to January. So there's a lot of body recomp going on. But then when I got back on the scale in January, I had only lost 2 pounds. If I had been solely focused on that scale, all the other wins would not have, I would have lost them. They wouldn't have meant anything to me because I was so focused on the scale. And at the end of the day, it's an arbitrary number for, like, to me, it doesn't mean anything. You know, the number on the scale, it's literally your gravity to this earth. Like, it doesn't have anything to do with the muscle recomp. It has nothing to do with, I mean, it could be a lot of water. It could be if you haven't gone to the bathroom in a couple of days. Like, that number doesn't mean anything to me, right? So if I would have paid attention just to that scale, all those other non-scale victories would have been lost. They would not have meant anything to me. So I think
I can go on the next.
Yeah.
When, like, as humans, we are programmed to focus on the negative. Our initial mindset is always, you notice the negative more. And I think when you're focusing on this scale, you can't help but be observing going down and when it doesn't go down, and you hyper focus on when it doesn't go down. And what that robs us of is the opportunities to be grateful, and how that can be uplifting and make us happier on our journey.
Mm-hmm.
Those opportunities to be grateful, they can seem so few and far between when you're just focused on that scale
It
number.
is. And like Mike was saying, he was going down the stairs, and it made me think of, like, a couple of days in a row, I hopped out of bed and ran downstairs, and it didn't have any pain. And it was just easy to do. And it was just no big deal to go up and down the stairs in my house. And if I was hyper focused on, but today I gained 2 pounds, I would have never, like, really internalized that. So I think, and of course there is a place for the scale in this journey. And of course, to be healthier, many of us have to count calories and do all of those things, but just maybe be aware of, the other things too.
It may not be, it shouldn't be the only tool to measure.
Yeah, there you go.
It can be a tool for some, for some it is. It's a great tool. And for some people, it's just data and doesn't affect their mental health, right? For some people, they can just get on the scale and it doesn't mean anything to them. It doesn't affect them. But for me, it really, truly was messing with my mind. Like, I would feel betrayed by it before I broke up with the scale. I would be doing all the things, and I mean all the things, like the water goal, like all the things, every protein, fiber, like I would be hitting the gym and doing everything. And then the scale would go up. And I'm like, oh, how dare you? I felt betrayed. And I was like, I'm done with this.
I feel you on that one. That was absolutely my problem. And for the longest time, I want to say, out of this year that I've been doing this, I'm just getting to that point where I don't have to look at the scale. And I think it took for me getting closer to, because I came into this with a number in mind. It was like, hey, I feel like I need to lose 100 pounds, but I don't ever think I'm going to get there. Let's see if I can. And so that became my motivation. And I spoke with different people in the beginning. They were like, Raina, don't get fixated on the scale. I had 4 scales. Okay. I had the one that I knew worked for me, the one from before, the one that maybe gave me a good rating, and then I had my little smart scale. And I was like, okay, so we're going to try each one of those. And it was so hard for me because if one was wrong, oh no, that's the off one. That's the one. It's wrong. It's not level on the ground. Let me move it to another location.
That
Let
one
me
needs
see
new
if it's
batteries, okay?
Yeah, that
Yep.
one was wrong. New batteries.
That one's
Let me make
dusty.
sure, right? Let me see if it was off, or I just got braids in. That must be what's messing it up. It's adding 3 pounds to the scale. It was a very hard thing for me. And although I do still weigh myself, I still try to do it at least maybe 3 or 4 times a week for the only purpose of I use it now to see, okay, well, I ate really bad over the weekend. Let me see if these foods, to try to narrow down which foods affect me. But it was so hard for me to just walk away from that scale because I would see it and I would say, okay, well, I'm a pound bigger than yesterday. That's impossible. What could I do about this? Or let me go walk another mile and see what's going on. And it was really bad for me until I started listening to different reports and doctors and stuff, and I was like, there's really no way I could gain a pound from yesterday. It's impossible. So once that started to get in my mind, I was able to relax a little bit from it, and now it's like, oh, okay, it's different. It went up a little bit. It's just my water weight, or it's just this. I can write it off now without being so fixated on it. And that's another win for us in this community when we're not so focused on that. But it took a while. It took a while for me to get to that point.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I mean, I think it's because we also we had been so fixated on it for so long, right? Like prior to starting this particular journey, that's what I used to live and breathe by that thing. I mean, it was like Bible for me, like that thing ruled my life. So it's just for me, it was I had to walk away.
Yeah. Now I'm excited when the doctor has to weigh me. I'm like, come on.
Yeah, bring it on.
Yes, yes.
I always say about this, because this comes up a lot in support group about scale anxiety and different ways to navigate that. But the most important thing is falling in love with the process of taking care of yourself. Because whatever you do to lose the pounds is the same thing that you have to do for the next 50, 75 years, however long you got. You got to do it every day for all the rest of those years to keep it off. So I'm literally doing the same exact thing now that I was doing when I was 337 pounds. But guess what? The scale doesn't move. So if you become addicted to the scale and you're focused solely on that, you're in for a major disappointment because the scale is going to stop moving at some point, like with Jeannie or with me. I never had a goal weight. I just, when my body quit losing weight, I was like, okay, well, this must be what makes it happy. And so at some point, the scale is not going to reward you every morning for your efforts every day. At some point, those rewards go away. And so then it really does become just a tool for maintenance. And you've missed out on the joy of the process. I feel so good about how I meal prep and prepare my vitamins on the weekends for the whole week, and make different. I always make sure I never ever let myself get out in public if I'm running errands or whatever. I try to make sure that I'm never caught unprepared, with nothing to eat and where I'm starving, no food on hand, things like that. I really love doing that for myself, and so that's the joy in it. Being skinny is actually not, you're not going to be any happier skinny than you were when you were bigger. Your life will be different for sure. There's some things that are way better, but your life is really, you're still stuck with yourself at the end of the day. So you have to take care of yourself, love yourself, because at the end of the day, you're going to wake up with yourself, you're going to go to bed with yourself, and the scale's going to quit moving. The scale's not your friend.
Yeah, good point.
I gotta say, the fact that you mentioned that you'll miss out on the joy of the process, it's kind of leads me to my answer to the question, about what you miss out on. I think you miss out on the fact that this is an actual journey that you're on, because you can't focus on both the fact that you're learning and growing and developing as a person as a whole, if all you're doing is saying, okay, I succeeded today because of this number, or I failed today because of this number, because your focus is just so narrow. You can't, it's impossible to see the big picture when your focus is that narrow. And so the fact, I know we love to call it a journey, but a lot of people miss out on the actual journey part of it because they are so fixated on that number.
Yeah, that's a great point.
I think thinking about it from the beginning, there is a role for the scale at the beginning because you don't have those NSVs yet. You don't have those non-scale victories. I think back to that's how I marked things in the beginning. And I've sort of gotten to this point, right? I talked about it earlier, like, or I'm 99.6, right? And it's driving me nuts. And it's the scale. But what's not driving me nuts, because I've been in this space now for like 5 or 6 weeks, is all the other stuff that's come along, right? Thanks to Jay, I got into DEXA scans. I had my blood work done in a physical, and all of a sudden, I know that it's more than the scale. But what I'm finding really interesting is my best friend is 6 weeks into the journey, and my husband's 5 weeks in. And so watching them parallel with me, and realizing where I was versus where I am, and how important the scale sort of feels at the very beginning, but how part of this process in the journey is learning that the scale is not the be all and end all. It literally is those little things. It's not even the seatbelt extender. It's going up and down the stairs. It's walking down an aisle and someone like turning to let you pass rather than running away from the larger body, right? It's all of those things. And you have to allow yourself to be open to those things in order for this obsession with the scale to go away. For me.
Yeah, and all of that is so true. But I want to, and I know that people are going to say, Sabrina, you hate the scale. I don't hate the scale. For me, I don't like the scale for me, but I understand that it serves a purpose for so many people in this community. And because they are able to just take it as data, I am just not one of those people, right? Like, it affects me. Like, I would lose all those wins that Mike just like brought up. So it is a tool, and some people are able to use it as that. I am not one of those people. So.
Neither am I. I'm not either. I'm sorry, guys. The technology gremlins had control of my computer, so I'm so sorry. Anyway, no, as the technology gremlins took me hostage, I did hear you guys starting to talk about the scale. The scale is trash as far as I'm concerned. And I'm with you, Sabrina. It is not my friend. It never has been, and it never will be. But here's what I also want us to acknowledge. You guys may have said this before I jump back on, is that is one piece of data. That's one piece of data. And it doesn't even measure all of the data in one clip. It's like your body weight is made up of bones and tissue, and the scale doesn't measure any of that. You may have water weight gain today, or your body may be responding to something that you ate like 5 hours ago, and now you weigh 5 more pounds than you did, and you get back on tomorrow. So I'm like, that cannot be your measurement of success or failure. But I think what we've got to remember is it's really important for us are you drinking your water? Are you moving every day? Or have you kept the weight off? I think, and Sabrina, I love how you described your weight loss. And you said, I've kept 34% off. And I often do that, especially when I'm on like professional panels, because the bariatric doctors, if you're able to keep off 25% or more of your weight after like weight loss surgery, you've done what they want you to do. So but that number on the scale, it might still mean, and I heard you, Dr. Joyce, that wasn't you, it was somebody else. Oh, it was Jeannie. You said that the BMI, and don't get me started about that. I have a whole podcast episode about that. But anyway, your BMI may never line up with what the construct of BMI was originally meant to do. And seriously, we could talk about it forever. It wasn't even meant to be a medical measurement.
It wasn't.
It was never meant to be.
And it's not based on like every person. Like, it's based on a very specific, narrow
population.
No,
Yes.
listen, no,
Yeah.
no, listen.
Good way of
Thank you,
saying
Jay.
it.
Oh,
Good
Say
way
it
of
out
saying
loud.
Yeah, go listen to the podcast. It's called I'm More Than My BMI with Dr. Fatima Cuddy Stanford. And I promise you, we spill all the tea about the history of the BMI. And so when you hear it, you're going to be like, oh, yeah, that's trash. I'm not doing that anymore. So I'm just,
well, so now y'all are going to get me started on the BMI real quick, okay? And I am sorry, but I'm going to go on a rant. Don't let me go too long, okay? So, okay. My girlfriend, athlete. She is an athlete. Like you could wash your clothes on her abs, right? So she goes to the doctor, she gets weighed, and she's obese. She was considered obese because of the BMI. So I was like, "You're what? You're obese?"
Well,
My brother was born with a six-pack, I kid you not. And that man went to the doctor and they told him he was obese. And that screwed with his head so bad that I would say he's had eating issues in his entire life as a result of being told he's obese when no.
Clearly he's not.
Right.
For me, I had to come to terms with my BMI issues, because that's why I'm going to call it BMI issue, because I wanted to be a normal BMI. That's why I wanted. But then I got a DEXA scan and realized, oh, there's no way I will ever be a normal BMI unless I intentionally lose muscle mass. I would have to intentionally lose lots of muscle mass to ever get to a normal BMI. And I was like, oh, this is not going to happen, because that is not my goal. My goal has never been to just be as slim as possible. And I wanted to actually be on a health journey. I didn't want to just lose weight. I want to be healthy. And me losing muscle intentionally, there's no world where that aligns with being healthy for me.
Well, that's absurd, right? It's just absurd in my opinion.
And I think that it doesn't account for culture. You know, I mean, Black people, there's more estrogen for Black women that impacts your body composition. I mean, there's so many things. So I'm like, don't even talk to me about the BMI, because we might get to throwing some fists. I don't know. But
Maybe I feel strongly about it too.
I feel very strongly about it, because we might start throwing hands and saying all kind of mean, nasty things. So that don't let that be your measure either. But what you need to be looking at, and what you need to be working with your doctor about, what's your metabolic markers look like, what's your cholesterol look like. You know, it's like, is your type 2 under control? How are your numbers? I mean, all of those things, that's what paints the full medical picture for how you're doing on this journey. And we don't talk about that because diet culture has us convinced, right, there needs to be a certain number on the scale. You need to be a certain shape. You need to be a certain this, a certain that. And that's not what this is about. It's not.
And it might not be the healthiest, right?
That's right.
All of it, especially those of us who are aging, we've all seen those studies, right? We know that we don't need to be below 25% body fat.
Exactly.
In fact, you know, a little higher is better.
Yeah, and to Jay's point, you might not even be able to. But how many of us walk in and get a DEXA scan, or anybody ever says, well, let me do a DEXA scan, which would be very helpful, because then you wouldn't be trying to constantly beat your body into submission for what these numbers out in the universe tell you that you're supposed to be, because it may not even be that. Right. It may not even be that.
Yeah. Chris, you were going to say something.
Just that I'm a data person. And so for me, that number is data. And honestly, this isn't going to make me any friends, but like I said, I'm really good at losing weight. And so when I was on Zepbound, or I am on Zepbound, it made me even better at losing weight. And so I lost pretty quickly, and I didn't have that many scale disappointments. But so I did play some mind games with myself, because the upticks that I had did mess with my mind. But I decided, you know what, if I was in the Olympics and I hit a record, then, I don't lose that record just because the next day I don't beat that record again. And so when I had an uptick on the scale, I would clock it mentally and then delete it from my scale app so that I didn't have to see it again, because I knew that seeing that number again would kind of bug me. And so it was enough for me to note it mentally and then not look at that number again. And then the next day, whatever happened would happen, and I would repeat the process. And so that got me through the first few months probably of my journey, and then I made peace with it. And the last time I lost weight, a significant amount of weight, which was probably 50 or 60 pounds, I was on the Noom program, and they kind of make you learn how to get over your fear of the scale, and you have to weigh daily. And so that's kind of the only good thing I took from that program, is it did really desensitize me to the scale. But even outside of the scale, I kept my eyes open for all of the other good things that were happening. So when I went to my doctor and my labs were better, and I timed myself on the trail, and was I finishing my hike quicker, and what was my heart rate doing during my hike, and all of that stuff. So I had good success with the scale, but I celebrated every freaking NSV all along the way, and I noticed them all, and I shared them on TikTok, and it was just one of those things where I felt like every day something good could happen, and I just woke up wondering what it was going to be that day. And it was, I just had my eyes open the whole way, and if you keep your eyes looking down at the scale, you're going to miss everything else. So look at the scale, glance at it if you want to, but don't keep your focus there, because you'll miss everything.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah,
But
I
that
wish.
this
Go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, just piggybacking off of what Chris said, being tethered to the scale though is it can be difficult for us to see that bigger picture. And like what it does do for a lot of people, I think, that aren't as successful at just treating it as a data point. I love treating it as a data point, um, is that it actually makes it so they're more tethered to diet culture, I feel like, for some people. Like they can't shake that. And so are more willing to go to more extremes, even on this journey where they have the tools and the access, because they're so tethered to that number on the scale and the culture that said, do this extreme thing to get the number down so you can feel that dopamine hit of the success of that drop, right? Like I think that everybody doesn't have that ability to treat it as data. So just acknowledging that it makes a difference.
Well, it kind of goes into the mindset, which I think is incorrect, that we have 100% agency over what our body is going to be.
That
We
part
don't.
right there. That part right there.
Yep, that part. Like, preach it, Jeannie, because baby, that's a word right there.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Wait a minute, we can shout and get off the call now, right?
Like, because your body's gonna do what your body's gonna do.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
When it wants to do it, that's the hard
Right.
part.
When it wants to do it, and when it
No
wants
matter
to
what
do
you're doing
it.
against it.
Because sometimes I think like I keep like I'm always joking about I'm like, where's my 40 pounds? I'm like, I'm on my Gerald, the highest dose, the big daddy. And I'm like, I'm not losing 1,000,000 pounds, guys. What is happening? But that's not the point. And I have to remind myself that all the time. And I'm also wondering, because we're kind of new into like the research and the studies around how this is different for different people. Does it make a difference in people who've had a sleeve or have had, gastric bypass? Is it different?
Or childhood versus hormonal, or
There it
appetite
is.
dysregulation versus PCOS?
Exactly. And I'm sure that when I was younger, because I'm an old lady now, but I'm sure when I was younger, I had PCOS, because I remember always saying, I'm doing all the things and I don't know what's going on and I don't know why it's not coming off and all of those things. And my daughter actually, she recently was diagnosed with PCOS. And I would say that my 3 kids, she's the one who probably has always eaten the pretty consistently healthy, was the dancer, all of these things. She hits her mid-30s and she's like, Mom, what is going on? Like, I feel like a teenager again. My hormones are out of control. And, she had PCOS. So she got on a GLP-1. And guess what? She's doing very well. So I'm like, that was probably my story. I just didn't know because they didn't have the information back then, in terms of what it is, because I'm 61. But I'm like, like you said, it's not, we think we have all this agency over what our body's going to do, and we don't. We don't.
I mean, but that goes back to the root of some of our feelings and knowledge about obesity before now, right? Because a lot of what we internalize for most of us is that there's a lack of willpower for us, right? That we didn't will our bodies into doing what they were supposed to do. We didn't will our bodies into not shoveling the extra food down the throat, or we didn't will our bodies
Right.
to move more, right? So, like it all ties together though. Like us thinking we can will our bodies at this point. We've believed, most of us, for a long time, that we didn't have enough will, right?
Right. And that's a
Oh,
great point.
100%. And I
That's the willpower.
guarantee, like, now that I've gotten to know so many people who are like me and in this community, we do a lot more than normal people. Like,
Absolutely.
a lot. Anyone who's lost weight over their lifetime or tried and failed, they're doing so much. Like, the number of naturally thin, skinny, or even naturally healthy people, they don't do all these extreme things. They really don't. They go out to eat every now and then. They eat non-organic broccoli once in a while. It's like they don't hold themselves to the same perfection level that we're expected to hold ourselves.
So true.
The other day had to get the big bag of dog food at Walmart. It was 40 pounds and I could barely lift it. And I showed it to my sister, and as I was carrying it, and I was like, I've lost, wait, how many of these? Like 5 of them.
Oh my gosh.
When I think about, like, I love 337-pound joy so much. Like, literally the first sentence of my book is like 337-pound joy is a rock star. Like, even forget that I raised 4 kids like that, built a career, went to school, like did life like with gusto, with all of that extra weight on me. I think it would be hard for most people to just like turn over in the bed with that bag of dog food, like strapped, just one of them, but like 5, and I was like kicking ass at life. So sorry, I don't know if I could say that. Like, so when all of my clients, the support groups that I run, like, we are the most resilient, willpower-y people that I know. So like, because we have to be. To me,
that's right.
To get out of bed with 200 extra pounds on me and like go after life and do things that are hard for anyone to do in that body the way that I did, like I had to be super strong. And I just think that's true for all of us. And that whole thing of like, all of us have lost more weight than most people weigh. Like, we're experts at losing weight. Experts, I tell you. It like comes with the territory. We know all the ways.
Maybe over 400 pounds in my life I've lost.
Yeah, that's what I calculated also.
Over 400 pounds I've lost. So don't tell me that I'm lazy.
And all the diet books are written by skinny people who've never.
100%, right? Like, there's none of these diet, like there's so few examples of formerly obese people being 10 years later that they don't live their every waking moment doing it, right? Like, like the 5 out of 1 million people who've done that, they have made that their entire being, right? And that's where it comes into I guess we could get there if you have the resources to devote 24/7 to it. And who does, right? The billionaire.
Movie stars
that's
only.
The billionaire.
Not even Oprah.
Not
even Oprah.
Oprah had the resources.
Case in point.
Not even
There you
Oprah.
go.
She had all the cash, she had all the chefs, she had all the things, and she would still tell us all that it's been a struggle.
Well, because she tried to do something else during her day besides, exercise her fat off.
You can't outrun a disease, no matter what they tell us. We can't outrun it. We can't outwork a disease. It's just not possible.
I think the hard part is having a disease that no one believes is a disease and wants to talk about.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when I have that conversation with folks, I feel like it blows people's minds. And I'm like, no, we just don't talk about this. This is crazy.
Because to some it's not an important thing. It's something that we're choosing to do. And
Right.
that's the problem. It's not a real disease because, oh, you're just choosing to be overweight.
Yeah.
You're choosing not to work out. And it's like, no, I work out more and harder and more intentionally than I've ever done in my life, you know.
Mhm.
100%.
So it really gets frustrating. And I used to be ready to, like you said, go you know, after somebody when they would say, oh, you're just lazy. No, I'm not. I'm really
Yeah.
working hard at this, but it's not as easy as it was 20 years ago. You know, oh, I just ate a pizza, let me just go, you know, walk to the kitchen and bam, it's gone. Now, you know, you have to intentionally work harder for it. And it's a disease, and people refuse to, you know, even with this medication, you know, in the beginning when it was more people were doing Ozempic, oh, you're taking from this and you're taking from that. I don't think people fully understand, you know, why you need it. You know, you need it just as much as, you know, who are we to say that one disease needs something more than another, you know? And that was a big issue as well with coming out and saying that, hey, look, I needed this for help, you know, just dealing with the judgment from everybody else.
But
Like,
first off, that was still diet culture narrative too, as far as I'm concerned.
Mm.
You know, I mean, as a nurse, and you know, Dr. Joy, I'm sure you can relate to this too. Is that first off, I keep telling people they found this was a side effect of this medication because it was being used primarily for type 2 diabetes, right? And the side effect became weight loss. And the diet industry, which is still is in play here, you know, we're benefiting from these medications. However, they said we can make a bajillion dollars. And trust me, they're making a bajillion dollars to promote it as a weight loss drug. But this is a medication and a class of medications called incretins. And so they were made to treat disease, and that's why they're finding that all of the comorbidities that come with obesity sometimes are being treated by it. Sleep apnea, the cholesterol, you know, inflammation, improving joint health. I mean, all of these things that are starting to come out now is because this was a medication that was for chronic disease, primarily a chronic disease called type 2. So again, I'm going to bring us back to the weight bias that is structurally embedded in our culture that says, oh, you shouldn't have this because you should build pushback from the table. You should exercise more. You should eat less. You should. Nobody is held to any accountability about a chronic disease any more than people who live with the disease of obesity. Trust that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Mike.
No, my fault.
No, that's okay. I was going to say, and so that's why these types of forums are so important, because the lived experience of people who are really dealing with this. That's who knows the truth.
Right.
Yeah.
That's who knows the truth.
There was a great article in the New York Times that I think even brings more clarity to this. I mean, yes, type 2 diabetes was its first thing in the more recent era. These medications were under development in 1987, what would eventually become Ozempic, out of Mass General Hospital, being funded by Pfizer. And at that time, they recognized then that obesity was one of the things it was treating. And Pfizer decided that they wouldn't make enough money on a needle-based drug to do it. And it then got backed out until, you know, the 2000s. So they've known about the weight loss portion of this, not just the diabetes portion, for almost 40 years.
We just
Don't
didn't
do the
know.
math. That's rude.
Rage.
Okay.
Rage. I feel rage.
I want to see, this is where I can help. I didn't say this at the beginning, but I should clarify that I have a doctor of education and I'm a licensed professional counselor, a therapist. So I don't write prescriptions. I relate more about the rage than about the healthcare side of it. Although I, you know, obviously as a participant and a patient, I have a lot of opinions and experiences. But Michelle, I just wanted to clarify for you and anyone else watching, I'm the feelings kind of doctor.
It's all good.
And I don't blame the doctors. I blame Big Pharma.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Well,
exactly.
health insurance.
Pfizer is what did this.
Yeah.
That's
I'm glad
right.
we don't have a
Literally
GLP-1 to make all that money.
It's
Any
big
harm
pharma.
in America can be pointed back to healthcare, health insurance companies, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, there we go.
Yep, because it's about capitalism. Anyway,
Yeah.
we won't go
Yep.
there.
Can I circle back to the point about us having more will and more knowledge than people that have never struggled with the disease of obesity?
Mhm.
I just want to really highlight my anger at the part that they are lucky I didn't get up to 3,000 pounds if they knew how bad food noise really is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh
Like
my
the
goodness.
fact that I only made it to 386 pounds, I only made it that high is a miracle.
Yeah.
Because if you know how hard it is to fight food noise, you'd be like, kudos,
Yeah.
kudos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can
Speaking
I
of
give
that,
you a little? Oh, go ahead.
I would like to put a little play in for fat pets here. Do you like every time you take a fat pet who's like starving to death, right? Like you've had the dogs or the cats who just are hungry, 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 hungry little fellas. Every time at the vet, you know, it's like it's treated like not a disease. It's like you're feeding them too much. And I'm like, no, not how it works. Let
I
me
wanted
educate you. Sorry, I went to the vet with my overweight cat this week.
I wanted
the-
to give you I geek out on the brain stuff, and I just wanted to tell you that the food noise, just to give everybody this, because I say this like twice a week in support group, and I'm like, this is so important. Our brains, like as human beings, we have to eat to live. So we are born with this built-in wiring that our brains have. That's really, sorry, my dogs are playing with their bones. Really powerful stuff in your brain that makes you eat. That feeling of hunger that you feel is not actually pain. Like it's imaginary. Your stomach sends a hormone and like your brain sends signals to make you think there's pain and discomfort, but there's like actually like no pain that's real. It's not like pinching yourself or something. That it's made up, but it's there so that you'll eat, so that you'll survive, because your brain only cares about your survival. It does not care about your happiness. Somebody said this earlier, like your brain doesn't care about your happiness. Your brain doesn't care about your long-term survival. It doesn't care about your cholesterol numbers. It only cares that you're alive today so that you can continue the species.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
right now, today, when I was 337 pounds, my brain was like, well, you're alive at 337 pounds. We have to keep it this way. So we're going to use those powerful brain tools that we have to keep you alive and make you want to eat so that you'll be alive, to make you eat more, to make you eat cookies, to make you eat ice cream. That's the stuff you like. We're going to send in the cravings for that. And the second you start depriving your brain of those things, it goes into overdrive. It's like way worse. So it's, the food noise is not even like it. If people could imagine what they feel like the day before they have to get a colonoscopy and they have to fast all day long, by the end of the day, they feel like they're going to eat their fists.
Mhm.
That is what our brains do to us to make us want sugar and fat, because it thinks that you need that to stay alive, because any pound loss is destruction to your brain. Your body says you're destroying me, you're dissolving me. This feels like panic, and that is against the brain's goal of keeping you alive. So just wanted to like give that to everybody. It is super powerful built-in wiring that everybody has. When you have obesity, it just goes sideways. And also really important to note that the emotional component should not be ignored, because there is an interplay. Because when you feed emotional holes with food for so long, your brain gets wired to do that, and you're not taking care of the emotional needs, and food becomes the answer. And then you get on this medication and the dopamine gets fixed, and then there's no more emotional filling with food. You get the food and you're like, oh, what, but I'm sad. Like there's no reward. There's a whole bunch of stuff about dopamine that I could get into too, but I don't want to keep talking forever. I really, this part really excites me, as you can tell.
No, I'm glad you brought that up though. That allows people to kind of see, because I don't think they fully understand. They're like, food noise. Oh, they think that that's something that we can just easily control as well, and it's not.
I like that you said that the brain is not concerned about happiness, because I spent a lot of time and money in therapy, and I'm glad I did. I'm not saying that this was a waste, because it really did help me. Because I had a significant amount of childhood trauma that I needed to deal with, and But I always assumed that that was a portion of the reason why I ate was for comfort or a feeling of safety or something like that. Because I was a really serious binge eater for many years, like just every night, Doritos and cookies and Skittles and Reese's, like all my favorites. And I live literally 100 feet from a CVS, which is like a gas station with medicine. So I was just running back and forth, sometimes 2 or 3 times a day to get more stuff to eat.
Nice.
And when I actually was calculating whether I could afford to pay out of pocket at first because I had to, I went through my credit card statement and looked at all the money I spent next door at CVS on junk food and ordering Uber Eats and stuff. And that was like more than half of what I was going to pay out of pocket for the medication. So I had a significant binge eating budget. And so when I started Zepbound, and the binge eating stopped immediately. Like the very second day, I had no desire for binge eating. And I was beside myself thinking that all this time that I had, it was an emotional cause and really it's physiology. And when you correct the physiology, that went away. And I couldn't believe it. Like that was the single most astounding thing that happened to me on this journey was that disappearing.
Yeah, that's amazing. I like to use the example of I need you to go through your day breathing exactly 20% less. I need you to go to work, make all your decisions, drive, do that. While you're doing that, breathe exactly 20% less. Like that's one of our other survival mechanisms, breathing. You can't control those. Those are not, again, 100% within our agency.
Yeah, and your brain makes those Skittles and Doritos, Chris. That wasn't because people will hear that who have never been obese, because we all hear that and think, yeah, that sounds right.
Yep.
Never experienced that or thinking, but why would you eat that? I mean, you know what's in it, you know what's going to happen to you, because that brain wiring turns the Dorito or the Skittle, whatever it is that does it for you, into a life and death need. You literally, like, I remember buying Little Debbie's because I might need them.
Yeah.
Like that now I'm like, I would be afraid to go. Do I have the Little Debbie's in my desk? Like, I can't be stuck there all day without it. There's no vending machines or anything. I don't know what I'll do if I need it, because, and by the way, the brain does the exact same thing to people who are addicted to alcohol, other drugs, gambling, shopping, sex, relationships, whatever the thing is. Your brain begins to see it as a life and death need. And that is why people give up their families, their jobs, they lose everything for their addiction, because the brain makes it so. And also, by the way, the brain withholds dopamine, which is the thing that makes you feel good when you finish a load of dishes or walk a mile or whatever, withholds it from all the hugs and all the happy things you do in your life. You're not getting dopamine. And when you eat those Skittles, whoo, the flood of dopamine, you finally feel normal. You need the Skittles to feel like a human, to function. So it's not so simple as like, oh, well, read the package. Why don't you? Like, it really is like, and I can't wait for everyone to know this, because guess what? Everyone's going to be on this medication for one thing or another, because obese people are not the only people that are using substances to get through life. Everybody's using something, whether it's scrolling or purchasing things or always going on a vacation because they can't stand to be at home, whatever. Everybody's doing something a little too much. And everybody's going to need this medicine because they're going to research it and find that it helps with all this. And then they're going to be like, oh, sorry for all the judgment all those years.
Right.
Sorry, yeah, no, they're not. They're not.
Yeah, I doubt it. We can't win, Dr. Joy. We can't, it's, and I said this last time, they hate us fat, and they hate that we're trying to not be fat, right? Like, lose weight.
They went for losing.
Yeah. Lose weight, but not that way. Like, we can't win. We can't win. So,
well, Sabrina, you have to suffer to lose weight so you can learn the lessons that they think you should learn.
Right.
I mean, okay. All right. I'm going to make another interjection of my favorite book. I probably bring this up every big podcast I get on, which is the Isabella Wilkerson's book, Cast, where she talks about the roles people play in different castes in society. And we have lived in a world where we were the lower caste because we had big bodies, and everyone who didn't have a big body is a higher caste. So us trying to break into their caste goes against everything they have wired in their brain. That's what, like, they are wired, like humans are wired to like keep the caste below you down.
Yeah. And it helps me to have compassion. So I am very sassy about it. But the truth is, people that are judging us when they look at us in an airport, on an airplane, or buying our Doritos or whatever it is, really, they hate themselves, and like they're judging their own selves and protecting their standing, that I hate myself, but at least I'm better than you.
Yeah.
So when you're like my daughter on the podcast, y'all, if you don't care about my podcast at all, fine. Listen to my daughter on episode 2. She's so funny and amazing. She's like, yeah, like they get so mad because I'm sitting here, you know, fat and happy on the beach in my bikini eating a Twinkie or whatever, and they're like starving themselves to death because they think it's be skinny or die. But I get to be fat and happy, and so like I am an affront to everything.
Yeah.
Work so hard.
Nothing makes people madder than that.
That's right.
The episode with your kids is absolutely brilliant.
Agreed.
Brilliant episode.
They are incredible. My children are incredible. For anybody out there who's listening, my podcast is The Easy Way Out, WIGH. And episode 2 has my 2 adult children that are in larger bodies, cannot access the medication because of their health insurance. And they were obese all throughout childhood. And I was also obese, trying to lose weight, trying always to make us get healthy. And on this episode, the 3 of us talk about my parenting around their weight for the first time ever. And it is
so powerful. If anyone is here who has not listened to that, life-changing. It's important.
Thank you. And it's because of them. They're willing. I mean, I'm always talking about this stuff, but they came on and were really vulnerable. And my daughter is really empowered in her larger body. And so there's a lot of discussion just about what it's like to be. We use the word fat with a lot of love, like, and pride. It's like reclaiming the word. And she does. And she's just really funny. And I feel like the world needs to hear what she has to say. She's so smart. And she's this Gen Z, you know, they're like really fierce, just amazing. And yeah, this conversation around like, how do you raise children that are chubby when you want them to be healthy? You don't want them to suffer as you have. But what do you do? You know, what do you do? And I didn't do it right. And they were honest with me about that. And it was tough, but good stuff.
We've had those conversations in my family. I have an interview with my son too on my podcast, who still lives with obesity and had trouble getting the meds and things like that. And you don't get it right, because I think that, I mean, it's a traumatic existence, right, for all of us, you know, especially if you've lived with it your entire life. People said things to you, you have all the internalized weight bias, right? Because that's a thing, you know, then you see your kids and you don't want your kids to struggle like you did, and you think you're doing the right things, and sometimes you're not. So those are important conversations. I'm going to follow your podcast, Dr. Joy. I want to hear your episode with your kids, because it was very powerful for me to do that.
Thank you. I was going to ask you for can you tell us
it's called Dear, oh, I'm sorry. It's
which
called
episode
Dear,
is the one with your son?
Yeah, it's Dear Healthcare Provider, and I think it's episode 2. Actually, episode 3. It's episode 3.
I think being someone that grew up in a larger body and was always in a larger body, that there's just no way that to find the balance of helping your child navigate the world in that larger body and also protecting them. Like there's just no way to get that perfect, because you're doing what you can, but it's impossible. It's an impossible task. And it's an impossible weight to put on your shoulders to try to do it.
And I think the flip side, though, is also true. Like, you probably did a better job than a lot of parents who, my dad is a complete jock. Like, refereed and umpired every sport, like the whole bit. And he was completely challenged trying to raise an obese child, completely challenged because it didn't make any sense to him one bit, right? And so parenting's just tough, guys. I'm glad I don't have kids to screw up, and I regret that, but like I envy all of you and all the work you put in.
Yeah, just the cliff note is that you can't, I think what Jay said, you can't try to fix it for your kid.
Right.
That
You
hurts.
can't, because we can't change the world. Like, the world is what it is, and
Yeah,
we're just
what
have
you
that
can
to
do
deal
is
with.
listen and
Mhm.
let them tell you what their experience is. Like what I should have said to my daughter, instead of when she came to me crying about being chubby and wanting to be skinny, instead of teaching her how to do Weight Watchers, which is what I did, thinking that's what she asked me for. I was helping, right?
Mhm.
Taught her how to count her calories.
Mhm.
I should have said, tell me more about that. Tell me what it's like being in your body. Tell me what your friends are saying. You tell me, what is your experience? And just love her to death. That's it. You can't protect them from anything that is meant for their journey and their health. You can't fix it. And so, Jay, I think you hit the nail on the head. But like, to give everyone the cliff notes, if you don't get to go to the podcast and listen, like that's the answer. That's what my daughter says would have been more helpful to her, at least.
Yeah. My son just had a very traumatizing experience on a flight because of his weight. It broke my heart. I thought, it's 2025 and we're still dealing with the level of weight bias that exists in this country. It's making me think. I said I probably need to have him come back on and talk about that, because it was very, very, very traumatic. So yeah, the world is cruel, and you can't always save
It
them.
is.
Mhm.
Okay, let's see here. Are we ready to move on to the next question, guys?
Sure.
This question came from Chris. He said, what do you think poses the biggest risk for someone just beginning their journey with the GLP-1?
Oh, that's easy.
Yeah.
The biggest risk is the weight of expectation,
Mm,
Mm.
because
Mhm.
people come in either expecting to fail or expecting wild success.
mhm.
And they put so much pressure on themselves because they either see it or they don't see it. They want it or they don't want it. Like, just the weight of expectation, it's a lot for people to bear. And it can damage their experience. It can damage their drive. It can just damage what the reality of the situation is, just their perception of the reality of the situation, because they have this weight of expectation that is just bogging them down the entire time.
Well,
I
yeah,
love
and
how
I
you
think
said that.
I think part of that also is the big economic impact. For many, many people, this is a huge expense for their family.
Mhm.
And it is so hard to to take that step and make that sacrifice and take all that resource away from your kids and your spouse and your
Right.
family. And that's part of the added weight, I think. I think the cost of these medications is ridiculous.
Yeah, agreed.
I think our system also sets people up for that failure, right? Because as much as I want to have expectations, a lot of people get handed a box with no information, right? And so there's a reason people fail at these meds at the high rate that they do, and they want to make it seem like, again, like we're failing and we're not strong enough. But if you don't give us the information about hydration and protein and how to manage side effects, it's very easy to fall down and fail just because of ignorance that you shouldn't have to deal with, but our system isn't built for it. We don't have holistic healthcare built around this enough.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, a lot of providers that still don't even have the information. We were talking about that on Tuesday night. I forget, you said something so profound, Jay. You said something to I think the effect, they give you the script and a dream, and off you go. And that's not how to manage health in any type of way. But I think there's two sides of the coin, is that there's healthcare providers who are doing this and they're just like, well, they know what they know, but they don't know enough to give it to people in a way that they can navigate it in the best ways. And I think that it says a lot that I think there's a lot of information that's shared in our GLP-1 community that's actually more comprehensive than what you get out of some doctor's offices. That's pretty strong coming from a healthcare provider, but it's the truth. And so I think that it's important that people understand that these are still medications. They are still prescription medications. And, you can't be out here just taking them any old kind of way. And healthcare providers especially need to know you just can't hand the script to somebody. We are trained that. We might not be trained in schools back in the day about obesity, but we do know you just don't hand people scripts and be like, okay, I'll see you. I mean, that's not how this works. So, yeah. So make sure, that the provider that you do go to is comprehensive, or at least if they don't have the answers, they know for you to get the answers.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, Dave just put something in the chat where he said that even with compound, people are just wilding out, doing triple, double, triple stuff, like crazy stuff out there in these streets. Like, be careful, y'all. You're playing with your life here.
And if your trainer pulls a vial out of his bag and says, "Oh, you should try this," don't do it.
Run.
Run and fire him or her right now. Don't go back. Don't go back.
But like you mentioned, so many of us are just given and said, okay, have a great day. I came across two providers when I first started. One, my PCP, just, didn't know enough about it. And she was like, oh, no, you don't need that. And your insurance is going to pay for it. So I'm not going to waste my time. And then I had my gynecologist who was sitting there, with the PCOS, and she was wonderful. She is actually I give her credit for helping me, because she was the one that was like, look, I don't know enough about it, but I feel your concern is valid, and I'm going to find out what I know about it and what I can, because I feel like if you have already started doing some research about this and you feel like this is going to be helpful, I want to help you. And I thank her so much, because this would have never gotten started if I was still with that PCP who just didn't care and didn't want to waste her time, in her opinion, looking for it. Now, still, I was still given, the medicine and said, hey, here you go, Raina. I got it for you. We got it approved, but still, I don't know a lot. Go do as best as you can. And that's why, this community was so wonderful. I sat there with the medication for weeks, and I learned everything I could from TikTok Academy on how to take a GLP-1 and how to, deal with the side effects and where to inject it. And I was literally there for the first month. Okay, let me press play. Let me watch where Sabrina's putting this in her arm. And I'm doing it along with Sabrina, or I'm doing this along with, some of the other ladies I followed on here, because there wasn't enough information. And now, fast forward a year later, more is coming out, but not enough is still out there. And there's so many people who are still, I'll watch different comments and I'm like, I'm not a medical professional, but baby, you're not supposed to be putting this in the back of your shoulder blade, or you're not supposed to be putting it in your kneecap because somebody told you you're going to get suppression. Like, there's it's like, would you would still take Tamiflu or something like that, and you would still want to know what's the right way to do it. You would still ask your doctor, hey, do I refrigerate this or whatever? You wouldn't just go off of a whim and just do these things without checking. You wouldn't want to find a Tylenol on the ground and say, oh, this must be good, let me take it because, I need to take it. But there's still so many different, people are crazy with this medicine. Like you said, this is still a medication and it still needs to be treated as such. Mm-hmm. But I think, so many people are going about it the wrong way, or so desperate to get it right now because we know we need to have it and we're just not getting the right way to get the assistance we need sometimes.
I think people understand that it's a medication, but I think it's the mindset that is the problem, because people think this is a weight loss medication, not a treatment for a chronic illness. People don't get willy-nilly with their, most of the time, I'm not gonna say everyone, but people don't get willy-nilly with their insulin injections as they're treating their type 2 diabetes, right? Because they're like, this is treating a chronic illness, this is very serious. But when you bucket something that's focused on weight loss, then that just changes the game, because it's not a focus on treating an illness, it's a focus on the aesthetics at that point. And people, when you start talking aesthetics, we know even without these medications, people will do wild things because they aren't thinking they're treating an illness. They think, I'm getting sexy. That's what they think.
Well,
You know?
good point. Good
I
point.
think, yes, absolutely. But I think there's a lot of nuances though that we've brought up here, right? There's absolutely, that's true. You know, it's like, I'm gonna just get too sexy for my shirt. There's that piece. I'm gonna take whatever it is, right? And whatever it is, I'm gonna try to do that. Give me that. Give me about 5 of those. I mean, there is that piece. But I also think there's the piece where, think about where we've all come from and everything that you tried. Everything that you tried, it didn't work. And so you're watching TikTok, you watching Instagram, and wait a minute, sis lost 50 pounds in 6 months, literally. Maybe that'll work for me. And so then I go to my doctor, and my doctor says, oh, that ain't gonna work for you anyway. But the real reason that the doctor doesn't want to deal with it is because the insurance companies make them jump through about 599 hoops in order to get the medication approved for you. We can talk about that another time. That's one reason why they tell you that. The other reason is because they don't understand how the medications work. They're still not believers in it, and they still have weight bias themselves. I'm gonna leave that there. Okay. And then there's this piece around that people want to get it quicker, faster. That's the other piece too. And it's funny because I see Dave in the chat. Dave, I feel your pain because I'm still asking, where's my 40 after, you know, I sort of kept off the 80, but where's my 40 with the Monjaro? I didn't get it yet either. But again, we are still driven by this notion that my journey should look like your journey. That's not how it works. It's not how it works. Okay. And the other piece I want to bring out too is the fact that if quote unquote healthy weight loss is 1 to 2 pounds a week, let's just park that for a little bit. At the end of the year, how many weeks are in a year?
52.
So if I steadily lose at 1 pound a week, at the end of the year, I will be down 52 pounds. But 9 times out of 10, because of, I'm going to say, the trauma of having obesity, right, says that you want to get it off as quick as you can, as fast as aggressively as you can. When you lose 52 pounds in a year, which is a massive amount of weight, you think you ain't did nothing. Yeah. It's like, oh, well, I didn't know because sis lost 50 in 6 months. You don't know what sis's story is. You don't know.
Right.
You don't know. Okay. I don't know what Bruh's story is over here. My journey's my journey. It is what it is. My metabolic makeup is what it is. And so I think we have to keep in mind that the comparison is definitely the thief of joy. And sometimes you just gotta go with it. Just keep doing the things you know to do, right? Do the things that you know to do. It's a comprehensive approach. And if at the end of the year, now I have sense enough to know, well, if at the end of the year I lose 52 pounds, hey, I got more than my 40. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Okay. But we don't think that way because we've been traumatized into other ways of thinking about this.
I need to talk about the sexiness part. Got to go back to that. I feel robbed. Where's the sexy? I was way sexier at 300 pounds. I mean, I felt way sexier. I turned heads way more. I don't know. I feel like I'm invisible in a different way. I look older. I got nothing that people are looking at when I walk across the room. There's nothing getting their attention anymore. I mean, yeah. So when you're chasing that, you're going to be in for disappointment, because when you lose fat, you get more wrinkles. Also, you're aging every single day. You're if that is your goal, like to look better for other people, then I'm very sorry for you, because you're going to be disappointed eternally, because you're never going to be back. You're never getting your 25-year-old body back, or whatever it is people say they want. It's not happening. I'm okay with not turning heads anymore, because I'm going to live longer. I'm healthier. I can get up and move around. I'm not in misery. Like that has to be the focus anyway. But
what you mean, Joy? I'm sexy anyway. You know, talk about.
I felt sexier in my voluptuous body. I'll say that. And it's a personal, that's just how I felt. And now I have to love myself in spite of not feeling like, I don't feel like I have any kind of attribute that would turn heads the way. I mean, I used to kind of have a spectacular hourglass, big is a lot.
She was Mama was.
Now it's just like
brick house.
I love it.
That's definitely, like you guys said, one of the biggest issues. And I hate to see people in the comments or chats, you want to brag on your success, but people don't understand not everyone is a fast responder. Not everyone's responding the same way. And I hate when I see people saying, oh, I only lost 5 pounds. Baby, would you have lost that 5 pounds easier or any quicker before?
That's hard.
Stop downing yourself. 5 pounds is 5 pounds. I saw a video on Facebook, and the lady was holding up something, and she was like, this is what 5 pounds of fat looks like. And it was nice to actually see it and say, okay, and put it into perspective for yourself. Same thing with the pounds of dog food. One of my apps on here, I don't know if it's MyFitnessPal or if it's the other one, when I was losing it, it told me at one point in time, you've lost a baby bear. And so it was like, oh my God, to put it into perspective, to kind of, it was a little bit of an insult. Like,
that's a new one.
But to also look at it and see, this is, you can see something substantial and put into, your mind, this is how much I've lost. This is how far I've come. And to be proud of yourself, and I think we want that instant gratification. We want to, oh, look, this lady lost 1,000 pounds in 5 days. I want that. How fast can I lose that? And we forget, while we're in this, you may have not lost scale wise, but how are your clothes fitting? Is that towel wrapping around you? Those kind of things. We tend to forget those because we're trying so hard to get the other stuff,
I think it's one of the reasons we have to fight so many of the narratives that are in the media. Like we're going through award ceremony, and you want to go through the papers and look for the word Ozempic after the Emmys and the Oscars and Tonys and all of these things. All they want to talk about is who got skinnier and looked sexier in their dress. And that's the media's narrative. And we all need to fight back against that, because it's really harming our community in a real way.
It is. It's harming our community. And it's a bigger, it's such a societal issue. Our brains were not formed over evolution to stare at ourselves all the time. For most of human history, you might have seen what you look like 1 or 2 times in your life. You certainly didn't think of it while dealing with everyone else. And now, even as wonderful as I am and all the lessons I've learned, I still can't not think about what I look like when I'm around people. We're not built for that. It's a problem.
I mean, I guess the question is, when did we start putting that much value on the appearance of other people, where it became social and actual, cash? It is that everything that
it is
that
real
visual
cash
appeal.
I would love to know.
It's just a natural extension of capitalism and the patriarchy.
Absolutely. It's interesting because I had a pretty in-depth conversation with this about this with my plastic surgeon. That's on one of the episodes too. And he was saying that him and his wife, they did a workshop at one of the meetings that they go to. And they did research on the evolution of how women saw their size, and how the fashion industry started dictating, like, you know how whenever they used to have like the corsets and, you know, you had to have this, people couldn't breathe. Actually, people had broken ribs with some of those. Like, it was like so crazy, but that was the look at the time that everybody wanted to go through. Then you got to some other era and it became something else. It was really fascinating to listen to him talk about it. And he's like, we still are like, who said that? Like, who said that you needed to look at that particular way? And if you look at history, even now, you know, there's the bell bottoms, but then whenever you want skinny jeans, then it's, you know, you need to fit into the skinny jeans. I mean, it goes on and on and on and on. And it's like the average woman, just in case we don't know, is like a size 12 or something like that. Like, it's not like this pencil thin person that is paraded in front of us, you know, at the Emmys or the Grammys or whatever. That's not what it is. So I think that we have to keep in mind, again, the external messages that we have been given that are quite biased, right? Especially weight biased, because it's not real. It's just not real. I wanted to talk about something that Dave on the pen is saying in the chat. And he's saying that always says that he's lost 40 pounds. He's kept it off. That's huge, because it's one thing to get the weight off. It's another thing to keep it off. That's a whole nother realm of this health journey, because our bodies, as Dr. Joy said, are constantly, every time you lose, it's like, wait. You're not supposed to do this. So it's going to automatically do whatever it has to do to keep you at a weight that it thinks you're supposed to be at. Right. So if you can keep that weight off, and then I have to remind myself the same thing, Dave, is that for over 7 years, you've kept off 80 pounds.
Because before that, when was that ever a thing? When was that ever? That was never my reality. Ever.
It wasn't. Ever. It wasn't. It wasn't.
Well, having just entered maintenance, because I hit my goal weight, you know, kind of around the beginning of the year. And so, like, the whole weight loss part for me was easy, because again, I have lost weight before and I'm really good at it. And so that part was fun, and, you know, I was excited, and I had all those non-scale victories, and I was more active, and, you know, that was fantastic. And it's actually now that I'm in maintenance that I'm starting to have, like, just my brain is messing with me in ways that I didn't necessarily expect. Like, I made a video about that recently. Like, I'm at a point now where sometimes I look down at my body and I don't see what I look like now. I see what I used to look like. And so, and logically, like, I can do the math and know that, like, this is a size small and my jeans are a 30. And so I can't be in that larger body. But when I look down at my body, that's what my brain sees. And so, like, I have to do things to remind myself that this isn't the larger body I lived in. This is the body I'm currently in. And my brain is very analytical, and I want to know the why of things. And so I've been hashing this out in my head, is like, is this my brain saying you look normal now? And I don't mean normal compared to others, but this is like normalizing what I look like. So I don't necessarily, I just see this as me, but part of my brain still sees me as the previous version of myself. And so there's a lot of mental, I don't know, just I'm running laps in my head trying to remember what I look like.
So I just want to touch on this really quick. So Chris, I would call you a hyper responder. I don't know if that's how you, okay. So
yeah,
I feel like Corey, you guys know Corey, who does Maintenance Minute. I would say that she's a hyper responder. For those of you who got on this medication and it magically fixed everything that was, your body began to function the way it was supposed to, is what Corey says all the time. So your body did this incredible thing within like an amount of time, just amount of time.
Yes.
At what point? So people who are like, man, I'm in the turtle club, or I'm an average responder, or whatever the case is, we have the time to reconcile that. Like, our mind, like, it can catch up with our body. You guys literally within less than a year, you lost 50% of the mass of your body. So your brain that can't catch up that fast. So there's a lot to be said about fast responders, bless you, what fast responders, I mean, that's a whole nother conversation, right? With the body dysmorphia.
It is.
But
And you know what?
also,
No, go ahead,
sorry.
Jay. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask, part of that perception of your body and what size it is isn't necessarily just your perception. It's what the world put on you and told you how you can navigate the world and how you should see yourself and how you should define yourself, right? Like the world said, you are fat, you are this large, and you are this value, and this is how you are allowed to navigate the world. And you had to internalize all of that just to survive and to navigate the world. And so you have to give yourself time for the world to redefine how it looks at you and yourself to be able to accept that new definition that the world has given you. It's just time.
The body dysmorphia is real. And I think too that in the beginning of my weight loss journey, especially after weight loss surgery, I did not see what everybody else saw in the mirror. I didn't. Like I still thought that I needed a size 24, 26, and clearly I didn't. And one of the most defining moments that I had was I had this purple coat, and y'all, I liked my purple coat. It was a purple winter coat. And so my daughter was I'm trying to think, she was living in Atlanta. I was trying to think, was she in college? And she was grown and graduated by then. But anyway, so when I had weight loss surgery in 2017, I remember she came home probably somewhere around springtime. And it was still cold. I live in Pittsburgh, and sometimes it's cold in the spring here, like it is right now. I'm bitter about it. But anyway, so I had this purple coat, and I put the coat on, and she goes, "Where are you going with that?" And I'm like, "What do you mean, where am I going with the coat?" And so I said, "I'm going outside like you are." And she's like, "Not with that, you're not." And I'm like, "What's wrong with my coat?" And literally, guys, and I have a picture on my Instagram account. If you scroll through, you'll see it. And literally, the coat was hanging off of me. And so we have this exchange, and I'm going, "I'm not going to get rid of my coat." And so she's like, "Okay." She said, "That's fine. If you want to look like the McDonald's character." And I was like,
hold on, Grimace? Would she refer to Grimace? Not Grimace.
My daughter is off the chain. You have no idea. She's off the chain. She's like, "That's fine. If you want to look like the McDonald's character." And she said, "Come on, let's go outside." And so she had me stretch my arms out. And that's the picture that's on my Instagram account. Stretched my arms out and took a picture. And I looked at it and I was like, "Oh my God." Now listen, y'all, what y'all need to know about me, I'm a little bit of a diva. And if you meet me in person, you'll find out. And so I was like, oh, I drove it down the street to one of those little boxes, when you give away the coats. I drove it down the next hour. I said, "Oh no." But it really took that to convince me that, oh, she's right. Like this looks crazy. But I didn't think it did until that point. So I think that it's just a very real thing that happens. And I think your point though too, Jay, is that what we're fed, what we thought we're supposed to look like, now we've got this new person, and you're looking in the mirror and you're like, "I'm confused." It's really a lot. It's a lot. Right. It's a lot to manage.
Yeah, yesterday I had to get out my old jeans from before I started this journey and put them on and over what I was wearing yesterday in order for me to really see the difference. And that kind of reset my brain for yesterday, but then today it's back. And I haven't put my jeans back on today because I'm like, I can only go through that so many times.
Yeah.
That is the best thing that I recommend for anyone to see the difference. I actually it's in my drafts, and I'm probably going to post it tomorrow. I am hanging. I'm first of all, I'm a hoarder with my stuff, okay? Because I put not only am I emotional with food, but I'm emotional with my clothes, okay? So like your purple jacket, I have many jackets and stuff I'm holding on to dear life for.
I do
And
too.
I don't know if it's a part of me that was fearful in the beginning that I'm going to immediately gain the weight back and I just didn't want to let go of those items, or
Mhm.
if it's just like a crutch for me. And I still don't know, but I can't bring myself to let go.
Mhm.
Oh, Raina, we need to talk.
Oh
We
yeah,
need to
yeah.
talk
They are
because
in a bag.
I
I've
was like,
finally
oh,
got
I holler at everyone. It is time. Let it go.
I've
Mhm.
finally gotten it to a bag, but it's still in my house and I can't bring myself to get it out the door. But that is what I do to compare, because at first, your family, your immediate family and friends don't notice your weight change because they're so used to seeing you for you. And I noticed that was an issue. So it was outside people, and I'm from a small town. So it was people who, kind of grew up with me, who knew me, but maybe don't see me every day. That was like, okay, you're losing weight. And the scale was changing, but I still wasn't seeing it myself. So I kept a lot of clothes, and once I got to a comfortable part, that's what I did. I would try on my favorite shirt from before. Okay, and let me see how it's fitting. And I still wouldn't see it looking in the mirror. So I would do like a little collage for myself to kind of track my progress. And I would do that with my measurements to kind of help me, because again, that's what worked for me. And I would see, okay, well, now it's been 4 months. Oh wow, this shirt fits me differently. Okay, it was that, because I was still ordering stuff like you. I was still ordering stuff in a 2X and a 3X, and it was getting here, and I would put it on and be kind of comfortable, and oh, it's falling off my shoulders and stuff. But I couldn't grasp the fact that I was losing so quickly, and I was actually getting what I thought wasn't going to be attainable. I never thought it would get there, even with seeing everybody else's success stories. It was in the back of my mind that, okay, well, yeah, it worked for A, B, and C, but it's not going to work for me. So that was hard, but I do feel that I hope that it clears up for you, Chris, and that you see, what everybody else is seeing as well, because you've done an amazing job and it's visible. And, I hope that you're able to see that, but it does take time, and it is hard for us, because I'll still be down a grocery aisle and I'll see people coming, and I immediately push back against, the wall, because I'm thinking they're not going to get past the bigger me. Whereas now they're looking at me like, well, why is this lady pushing up against here? Now they're looking at me like I'm weird now, because they're not
Yep.
understanding what my mind is still thinking, that I need to get out of the way because I'm bigger and I'm blocking their way.
Yep. Yep. The spatial awareness.
Right.
Yes, I was just talking about this not that long ago. There was I had to get through this space, and I like turned and like kind of like, and then I like looked, and there was this much room, and I was like, oh, okay, that's not a thing anymore.
Right.
So
But it's hard for us to.
yes,
It's like the two don't connect.
yeah.
You just
It is.
it just doesn't connect, and it takes a while.
It
And I
does.
think with being a
Another.
fast responder, you're like she said, you're catching up. Your brain is like, hold on, you don't have to do this anymore.
I went through that on a flight 2 weeks ago where I was in the aisle walking to the bathroom. And the first thing I realized was I was walking down the aisle and not walking like sideways.
Right.
And I got to this has happened 3 times. The first time I thought someone was being rude and they just sort of turned to let me pass. And then the second time it happened. And then the third time I'm like, why? What? Oh, it's me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, no concept of that. It was wild. Absolutely wild. The first time it happened, I thought I was on a plane that the aisle must be too big in. Like how nice that the airlines have planes that still have big aisles. That was my brain.
That's not a thing anymore.
No, it's not.
Mm-hmm. That was one of the biggest non-scale victories, was when I got on a plane and didn't have to ask for the seatbelt extender. That was an amazing moment, absolutely amazing moment. Another one was when I could literally put my whole body into one leg of one pair of my pants. That was profound.
Oh, I haven't tried that.
Yeah, do that. That one.
You gave me an idea.
That'll get you right. That there's a picture
Wait.
of that one on my Instagram account too. Absolutely. I could stand in one. My whole body could stand in one leg of my pants. I was like, baby, You all right now?
You made it.
You made it.
Wait, am
have
I the only
arrived.
one that got rid of their old like clothes like as fast as possible
You
to
and
not be
Sabrina,
reminded?
yeah.
Jay,
I did. I only saved one pair of jeans so that I could always remember, and I can stand in half of it. I can stand.
Jay, I remember like the second or third live, Sabrina's live that I heard, you talked about that, and so I've obsessively. I think I'm a clothes horse. I think I've donated like 24 bags of clothes to Goodwill. But I still have the original. I saved one outfit, and it's the original outfit I appeared in the first time on TikTok, and I still have those jeans and that shirt so that I have that benchmark.
Well, yeah, because like Mike, that's content, right? Like I don't, you guys, I have one before picture because I was always so scared to be in front of a camera. Like I was the one that was always hiding. I'd get behind the kids and be like, here, it was just a picture of the face, right? So I don't have any just like full body pictures. I have one from a wedding that I was at, and because like the photographer came up to us and they were like, picture, and I was like, I panicked because there was no one for me to hide behind. You know, I was like, here it is. Here I am in all my glory. You know? So, but that's the only picture I have. And so I've saved that shirt. I have that one shirt because on my 2-year mark, I'm going to do like a before and not after, but during, because I'm not even anywhere close where but I've got that.
I haven't gotten rid of any of my clothes, but I don't still try to wear them. But this is what the weird part is. I've compartmentalized them. So my closet is where all of my clothes are, and then all of my bigger clothes are. But then all of the clothes that I wear now, I have it actually in my bedroom in a whole other separate place that's not my closet. And so they're very separate, and I don't really go into my old closet anymore, and I just wear what I wear. But I haven't gone in there to like bag things up and donate it or do anything with it. I don't know what I'm waiting for.
I was going to ask, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but I want to know.
Give him a deadline, Sabrina. You know
I know. I was like, both of y'all, like,
I do work well under pressure.
Like in my head, I was like, I'm going to give them a week. Like that's, you guys have 1 week. Like it's tough. Yeah, we're not going back. We're not
the
going.
idea of it, like I get
Raina, we're not going back.
I'm a
right?
big
We're not going back.
No, we're not going back, but I don't know what the attachment is for me. And I've talked about this with my girlfriends and stuff like that, because on a normal basis, before the weight loss, like I had stuff in my closet, and it's funny in a way because I had stuff in my closet from 2008, 2009 that, the styles have changed. But in the back of my mind, it was like I was hopeful that one day I could get back into that stuff. So I never removed my smaller clothes. And then now I can fit those smaller clothes. Well, actually now those are even big on me from 2009 and stuff. So I can't let go of those. But even my bigger clothes, like I find comfort in them sometimes. So on some of my stuff, you'll see me with my sweatpants and I'll have like a hair twist or something, like tying them up and they're rolled.
Miss Ma'am. Miss Ma'am.
It's definitely time.
Can I say that it might help you.
It's like I'm like kicking a best friend to the curb or something, like getting rid of them. It is very, very difficult for me, and I don't know what I'm holding on for. My husband was like, "What is wrong with you, kid?" And I'm tearing up, and I'm like, "I'm getting rid of some of my clothes," and it's a release because it's such a good feeling to know that I achieved the goal that I didn't think was something that I could reach. But at the same time, it's bittersweet. So it's kind of hard to really put it into, words for me, because it's just, I don't know. It's just a hard thing. So like, even though I don't want to go back to that, I feel like I still need to hold on, and that's, I don't know. It's a hard thing for me.
Maybe if you think about the people who would benefit from you donating them, like if you go to a domestic violence shelter, women that are fleeing their homes that need clothes, or for you, Chris, I run an addiction treatment agency. We all the time give men suits so that they can go on job interviews when they're just getting out of jail and things like that. So maybe it would help y'all to think about the new life of the clothes, like the people that will benefit and be so grateful they're going to find a treasure. So instead of thinking of your own self, maybe that's a way to get yourself past the hump.
Raina, where are you located?
I'm in Louisiana.
Oh, you're
Me
in
too.
Louisiana.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
I'm in New Orleans.
I'm near New Orleans. I'm down here near New Orleans. I saw you with your Boudin video, and I was like, she's from here.
That's, I think, the last video I posted. It's been months.
Yeah.
I know. I go and check. So
I'm coming back.
Where is hold on. Are you guys going to the Atlanta meetup? Because I am flying Southwest, so I'm bringing a suitcase full. You know how they let you bring two? I'm bringing a second suitcase of clothes that like literally still have tags on, because there are people that different parts of their journey, you know. So
I'm gonna have to definitely do that. I've done some for Goodwill, and like I said, I literally have 2 of those like big industrial size bags that I've gotten it out of my room. I've gotten it to part of the living room near the door, but they're still sitting there. And I'm going to keep reminding myself of that. I was okay with some of the stuff, but it's like my favorite items. I don't know. Those, because I attach so many memories to it. I'm like, this is what I wore at First Communion for my son, or, you know, so those things. And I think that makes it harder for me. So I need to like remove those attachments from items so that I can, you know, some things it was fine, you know, but certain items, it makes it harder. But I need to think of it in that way all the time, and that'll help me purge them out.
Another thought is, do you need to have a ceremony for the clothes? Because that's another thing you could do, is you could, you know, invite some friends over. You could have a little ceremony for it. You can, you know, pay your respects to them and that kind of thing. Or I was going to say, if you were in Atlanta, because that's where my daughter lives, I say, I'll send her over. She's brutal. She'd be like, okay, girl, come on, we're going to get these clothes out of here.
And I have 2 of my friends, and I believe they're watching today. They're the ones like, well, we've been telling you, get it out of here. We're coming. And they're the ones that'll easily help me get out, because like I said, I do hold attachment to items, and that's been an issue, you know, big or small. That's always been an issue, but I do need to you know, think more of others, and getting it out there, and kind of let it go. Now once it's gone, it's fine. I just can't be the one to drop them off at Goodwill. So normally I'll ride around with them in my car for like 3 weeks, and I'm like, hey, can you take my car and drop it off, and then somebody else can do it. And then it's like, well, you have no choice. You can't go back and get them. So now they're gone. But it's just that final goodbye, like telling your goldfish, you know, pouring it down the drain kind of thing. It's that last little bit that's just difficult for me.
Tell your friends that I got. I'm gonna make it happen.
Girls, if you're watching this, cover your ears.
I'm more in the camp Mike was earlier today, where he bought clothes that don't quite fit because they're too small. I'm in that collection mode right now, where like I literally bought shorts today from this shorts brand that are a size too small because I want them, and they're on sale.
That's good.
That's exactly what I did. I can barely close them, but it doesn't hurt. And I'm like, I'm going to Florida in 2 weeks, and you know what? I need a pair that's still going to fit me in July. I can't just buy clothes,
right?
You know, and I've never been a discount shopper. Marshall's would never been my thing, and now I'm like, get me the cheapest clothes possible, because things are just, I'm burning through them.
Go on TikTok shop and get you a few little sets. That was another thing too. Kind of reward yourself with different little items from there as well. You know,
that's on the way, and I get all the free samples I can.
Yes,
you see me on my Kufandi ads.
Yeah,
it's funny because I think I have a different. Like, I was like, oh, wait a minute. I was triggered by that, because like you're triggering me a little bit, because when I was younger, I would do that. I would be like, I'm just going to buy it, and I'm going to get into it. I'm going to lose the weight. And it was like, no. So no, my motto now is, once I got over the closet thing, I was like, oh yeah, this is too big. I don't need these 3X's anymore. They're out. They're gone. When I finally got to that place, now I have to stop myself from buying things, because I'm like, oh yeah, I can walk into any store and I can find something that fits. This is cool. Love it. So, you know, so I think with that, I probably would not, in fact, I know I won't. Like, I won't buy something that I can't fit. I'm like, I'm going to love myself, and I'm going to dress myself in the nicest way possible in the size that I am. Because before, it was almost like, well, I'm going to get this, and then I'm going to beat myself into submission. I don't want to do that.
Right.
But
Can you teach me how to do that? Because I have bought 2 pair of 3-inch inseam gym shorts, and that I'm way too old to be wearing things like that. And and I put them on and was getting ready to go down to the fitness center to do a run, and my partner looked at me and he's like, "Are you wearing that to the gym?" And I was like, I was going to until you said something, and now I'm second guessing myself.
Right.
And I was like, you know what? Screw it. They're pink and they were fabulous. And I wore them and I went for my run and I came back and it was fine. But, you know, small car, I sort of finally get, I think, you know, like girls always talk about not having pockets in their dresses or whatever.
Oh, you
Like
gotta
those
have
shorts
pockets.
those shorts had no room for a phone or anything. I was like, I'm just gonna have to take my Apple Watch on this run and get by with that. And but yeah, I have a problem with buying clothes that I probably shouldn't be seen out in.
So I'm gonna speak as a gay guy here and just say we got robbed of all the cute clothes for a long time.
Yes, we did.
I don't care. I am 51 and I was shopping in the
Me
young
too.
men's aisle and I did not give a Dave.
I know.
Oh,
My partner and I
no.
Go
talk about
for it. If it fits, go
My
for
part-
it.
that,
my
yeah, so
partner and I
don't-
talk about this because we're both in our early 50s, and like the 90s when we were, you know, young and hot or whatever, baggy clothes were it. I'm like,
Yeah.
what? Like we missed the whole, like, you know, show it off if you got it bit there. Like, so I'm kind of going back and reclaiming that era.
well, wait a minute, ladies. I think you ladies who are a little bit more seasoned, you guys will know where I'm getting ready to go with this. Do you remember when they thought all we wanted to wear was the flowery moo-moos and all of that? I was never feeling any of that crap. I was never feeling that. And so now I'm like, sometimes my kids will be like, "Where you going?" I said, "Mind your business," because now mind your business.
I'm with you on that
Stuff
one.
right here, okay? Because I
I'm with
couldn't
you.
wear the stuff before, so now that I can wear it,
Baby,
mind
it's
your
on.
business. That's right, it's on.
For me,
See, I did. I wore the stuff.
oh, did you?
Did you?
Yeah, because I was like, well, it's a thing. Like I just felt like this is my body and you just live with it and blah. Now I have loose skin and I definitely am not wearing no 3-inch inseam. Like definitely not.
Yeah, no.
Oh, I
And
have some loose skin.
Yes.
Well, I won't
Yeah,
do
I'm
that.
So
That I
hard.
won't
Like
do.
that I struggle with. Like now I had body issues. I wasn't like, oh, I love I mean, it was definitely a mixed bag and I really tried to love my body as it was. But the loose skin, maybe because it's new, I haven't adjusted to it yet. I'm struggling with that harder. Like I feel like that's harder as far
the
as
skin's
my
a real
appearance
thing.
and feeling confident.
Mm.
Now when I'm all covered up, I feel great in my clothes.
Yeah, that's how. Yeah, same. I have quite a bit of loose skin, so I struggle with it. But when I've got my outfit on,
It's
I'm all
different, right?
I'm all good. But,
Like people can
Yeah,
look
there's
at
no
it and
wearing
know that
shorts
something's
now.
off.
no shorts.
Something is
Oh, I
off.
just let
I definitely
the
wear
thighs
shorts.
skin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like we go from one extreme to the other in a way.
Yeah.
Like it's so many things that, you know, now I'm not tugging at my shirt as much. It's gotten better. I'm not tugging at my shirt to make sure my stomach isn't exposed as much. But now I'm like, okay, well, you know, my thighs, my inner thighs and with shorts or whatever. So it's almost like we go from one issue to another, but it's still 1,000 times better than where I was.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I try to remind myself of
Sure.
that. And now I can borrow my daughter's clothes instead of her just taking, you know, my shoes and that kind of stuff. And she hates that. So that's a fun thing for me. But that it's less insecurities for me, but there's still some. It's like you can never quite get over it completely, you know.
Right.
That's why it's so
I'm
important to de-identify with how we look to other people. Like we're talking about just how I feel and how I look to other people. These are the issues. But what I really focus on is just trying to enjoy living inside of my body because that's my option. Like that's what I get. So like,
Yep.
I love being in this body and I found a way to love it before too. And that is what's important. Like finding a way to love being inside of your body while you're so lucky to be able to walk around and have health. And you know, like it's
Yeah,
really
I do enjoy like the freedom of movement quite a bit.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
The days don't pass without me appreciating that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
For sure.
That is
Absolutely.
powerful.
Mobility is like
Yeah.
number one.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I enjoy it much more now. It's not a task for me anymore. And that's something that I've grown to love throughout this journey. Before it was, I was out of breath. You know, I wanted to walk, I wanted to exercise, I wanted to be able to do this, but it's just, I had so many limitations. And now that I can do it, you know, people are like, well, why are you still walking so much? Why are you still doing that? Because I enjoy it now.
Because
I
I
love
can.
it now.
Because I can.
Yeah, and because exactly
Right.
because I can and I
Mhm.
want to and I enjoy doing it now. So I don't mind making it a part of my day-to-day routine because
Mhm.
now it's something I realize how limited I was before with taking stairs. Like if the elevator was down, it was like, oh my God, you know, like I have to take the stairs. Now it's like, oh, see y'all later. I'm gonna take the stairs. Now it's like I choose to do it and I want to do it, you know.
Oh, if the elevator was broken, I wasn't going, baby.
Well,
Like, I
right.
wasn't, like, I'm sorry, y'all, I ain't making it, you know?
Right.
But
That's
with that, I want to move on to the next question because we've got a couple of them and I didn't realize how late it was. So we're going to move to Jeannie's question. One of her questions was, now that you know that you are not alone and have knowledge and have the knowledge needed to really know that this isn't your fault, how do you use that when you have setbacks or need to take a break from the medication? Jeannie?
Oh, I didn't anticipate answering my own question. No, I was thinking of it as like, because there's a lot of concern right now in the community about maybe compounds going away for a while, what's going to happen with that. And I see, because those of you who don't know, I work with Join Fridays, and I see people who lose their insurance coverage and or are going into surgery. Like, things happen. And if we're going to be on these meds for years, we're going to have moments where we need to be off of them, whether our choice or not. And I find that knowing you guys and seeing the struggles of other people, and then like I feel so deep in my heart now about how it's just, it is what it is. It's not my behavior. It's not a thing I can control. It's not my choice, so to speak. And it won't be my choice if I gain weight back, if I have to stop taking the medicine, right? So like this time, if something happens and I gain weight back because I need to be off the medicines for some reason, I think it's gonna be very different. I think it's gonna be very different. And I think, you know, of course, we're all scared of having our medication taken away, and we, you know, cry from my dead hands.
Yeah.
And yet, I think we're so much more equipped now because of what we know to deal with all of that and to deal with what comes. And I think, you know, that anyway, I was just curious if you guys think about that, taking breaks from medications, being off of them.
I'll say for surgery, I think I'm okay with it because I know I'll be able to get right back on the wagon again. But I will tell you, if I were to lose access to the medication and the fact that I know it's not my fault as I'm getting sick again, because it's sick, it's not weight, it's sick,
right?
I'm going to be very, very angry at the system. I think there's a whole lot of people that are about to be very, very angry at the system if this goes the way the way they're saying it is.
Yeah, I think that's a tough one because where I'm at on my journey, I've had multiple skin removal surgeries. So I've had to, you know, stop it from time to time. And so I will say this, but again, you know, everybody's different. I will say that it seems that when I've had those breaks, when I got right back on it, it didn't seem as hard to make that transition. But I think the threat of not having access to it, first off, it's a social justice issue for me, and which is why I advocate the way that I do, because that should not be that just shouldn't be an option, right? And
Right.
so I feel like if we're talking about a disease process, you would not just be like, oh, well, if you had, you know, if you have high blood pressure, you have kidney issues, or maybe you're type 1 diabetic and you've got to have insulin, right? You wouldn't just be kind of like, well, we're not going to pay for it. You don't have it. And that's that. It's not quite that simple. So I think that for me, more than what's going to happen to me, it's more about, no, 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 no. This is a social justice issue. We need to be talking about this now. And everybody who is involved, including pharma, and I'm not a hater, with them, but everybody needs to be doing their part around making sure that people living with the disease of obesity have access. Now, I know people have to pay for it. We got to figure that out. But if you're not able, I personally feel, and this might be another level of advocacy, but I personally feel like, so if you are putting people into the throes of not being able to have the medication because you said, well, compounding folks can't do it anymore because there's no shortage. As far as I'm concerned, is it still not a shortage if I can't access it? Right? Because I don't have the money to pay $1,000 a month or $1,200. Is that not still an access issue? So I think there's a lot of conversations that we need to keep having about this. So I don't know.
And I agree. And that kind of leads me into part of what I was thinking is that look how many of us there are, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, surely we have some power in the social justice arena is what what I'm getting at.
We do. And I think, and we need to, and like I said, I sit in a lot of these rooms, and I think that one of the things that our listeners need to hear is your voice really, it does matter. And it may not happen like this, but your voice does matter. And that's why I feel so strongly about these lived experiences being out here, right? Because you can put something in a textbook, you can have these anecdotal thoughts about, but when you hear it from people who are really living it and you see the evidence of the benefits of access versus not having benefits of access, that's powerful. And I think that some of the pharmaceutical companies are trying to move the needle in some ways around that, right? In terms of lowering some of their prices. But we also need to put our foot on the necks of people who are making these policies that makes it difficult for us to get it too. And I don't want to get political, but policy does matter. I'll say that.
Right. Well, and like Dr. Joy just said in the chat, there's an estimate that's recognized right now is about 10.4 million people are on these medications. We have power. That's a lot.
That's right.
We have power.
And I'll just say, there's a nonpartisan Capitol Hill Day that looks like it's coming up the second week in October that the GLP-1 Collective is putting together. So if you are wanting to show your voice, no matter party, no matter anything else, follow the GLP-1 Collective, because that looks like it's happening mid-October. And they will have funding, hopefully, to actually fund people to go who can't afford to go.
Yes, I agree. And it is powerful, and there's advocacy, organizations that, like the Obesity Action Coalition, they do a lot of Hill Days. And I think that it's important for our community to be talking about how we get involved, because you're right, Jeannie, there is power in numbers. There is, there's power in numbers. And I think, what I hear over and over again is like, well, if we pay for this, it's going to cost us $1 bajillion. Well, you're already paying $1 bajillion for the illnesses that evolve when people are not treated for obesity. Okay. So you want to keep replacing hearts. You want to keep replacing joints. You want to keep, replacing kidneys. You want to keep doing this. That's not cheap. It's not cheap.
Right.
And so, I think that what we have to understand it's a long game from the payer standpoint in terms of saving money. It's a long game from the, but in the long run, and some of the health economists have worked the numbers, in the long run, they really would save $1 billion. You know what I'm saying? By treating the foundation of why people evolve into some of the other things.
But private health insurance companies that we're paying, like with our jobs and all that, are kicking the can to Medicare. The healthcare costs associated with obesity typically don't kick in until that like mid to late 50s, and then the early 60s when you're hitting retirement age and you're no longer going to be on their insurance plan. That's why the system keeps going the way that it does.
Yeah.
My son had his medication. I tried to pick his Wegovy up today, and it was $600, and it was covered last year. I don't know what happened.
Well, they change because the pharmacy, the PBMs dictate what those prices are. So those are the middlemen who are negotiating between the pharmacies and your payer. And so when you get those formularies every year, you know, when you get the new insurance, and suddenly last year you could get Dexcom, this year you can get Libre 3. It's because they have negotiated a deal, and that's a very complicated, convoluted, dark system. But okay, because it's almost like, let's say that Sabrina is the payer, okay, and I'm the health insurance company, okay, and Mike is the PBM. So Mike says, well, I'm sorry, Mike. I figured I could pick on you.
I was like, don't pick me to be the PBM.
Right? Okay. So Mike is really cutting backroom deals, all right, and saying, well, if you give me, I will purchase the medication in bulk from you, okay, the pharmaceutical company, and but if you got to give it to me at wholesale price. But now I'm going to sell it to you, payer, right? And I'm going to get my cut out of it. So it's really like being a drug deal. It's like a backroom drug deal is what it is.
Crooks.
Okay. So those are the kinds of things that we don't understand. We're just like, well, how come I could get it last week and then my insurance changed and they didn't put it on the formulary? Is because it's these backroom deals that are going on in terms of who's getting what and who's getting the cut and who's getting the money. So
just to touch on that really quick, before it used to be the formulary could and would change like every 6 months, 90 days, whatever it is. Now a formulary can change anytime, no notice, no nothing. It can change at any given time.
Yeah.
Just stay in the know as much as you can.
Stay in the know. Don't be afraid of, of using your voice, and don't be afraid of the politics. You have to understand the politics and how it impacts your ability to access your medications and your treatment. You have to understand that piece.
Okay. Did everyone who wanted to answer Jeannie's question answer? Okay.
I had an answer to that question. Knowing that it's not my fault, there's just two things I just want to acknowledge. I'm not going back, so that's just the first thing. And understand that it's not my fault means that I also understand that it's not necessarily the end of the road for me when I run into an access issue, because these medications, this class of medications, the genie's out of the bottle. They're going to keep coming. So I'm going to keep doing what I can to get access, maybe to not this generation, maybe the next one, or maybe I'll get access to this generation when the next one does come out. But I'm not going to give up the fight to get access now that I've had a taste of the sweet, sweet nectar.
So are you on my heist team? So we can pull off a heist?
Here's the deal, Jeannie. I will mug someone's grandmother if I have to.
All right. Noted.
I'm saying something very clear.
Can we wear belly shirts like they did in the South Park episode?
It's like that moral
never
dilemma. Like if
expected that to come from you.
if you steal a loaf of bread to feed someone who's hungry, is it morally wrong? That's like this. Like if you have obesity and the insurance denies your coverage for the medication you need, is it wrong to mug the grandma for?
I've
Not
got
if
my whole
grandma
plan.
needs it, Joy. Not if grandma needs it. What?
I've
But
got
if
my
grandma
whole
has good
plan. I'm gonna
insurance-
get a job at Eli
Right.
Lilly
Corey said, who is this?
There you go.
and hit the factory one night.
I love it. I love it, you guys.
I like where your head's at. I like where your head's at.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mission
Okay.
Impossible.
Second, well, I agree with all of it. Yeah, I am not going back. Not
No.
going back, no matter what that looks like.
Yeah.
But and take that.
We're gonna figure it
however
out.
you want to.
Figure it out.
I will not go back. I refuse. Like Jay say, sweet nectar. That's exactly what that is. But so this question came. Tay said Grandma could figure it out. Okay, so
Hey.
That's
Hayes driving the
hilarious.
getaway car.
Right.
okay, so Raina's question came to us, and it's, how has success with GLP-1 affected your family life? So I'm just going to start off with this because my very first thought was my success has meant night and day with my children, my husband, like every aspect of my life is different because of this medication. Every aspect. So hold on.
Was the question, how does it affect your family life?
Basically, yeah. How has it affected your day-to-day with your family?
Well, it's interesting because for me, I have 3 adult children that are all obese and who can't access the medication. So it's bittersweet. I don't really like to talk about it too much, you know, like, I mean, yeah.
I'm
For
sorry,
me,
Amanda, to make
I'm
it such a
basically-
touchy question.
Yeah. I'm basically a Jehovah's Witness for it at this point, I guess. My mom's on the GLP-1 now. My older brother's on the GLP-1. Like my cousins on
His
the
neighbors.
GLP-1.
Jay, I'm loving you
Everyone,
more and more.
everyone in a walking radius.
I can't with you, Jay.
Knocking on doors.
Have you heard about your savior?
GLP-1?
Honest God, like everyone in my immediate like they know way more about GLP-1 medication than they ever wanted to. I mean, like at this point, they're like, "Cool story, bro." I'm like, "But wait, there's more."
I feel
Yeah,
like I'm everyone's
no one's
priest.
asking me anything about this anymore. Nobody wants to hear it.
It's a two-part.
I feel like I'm everyone's priest. All of a sudden, everyone is coming out to me and wants to start this, but they don't necessarily want to talk about it, right? But they all know that I'm here. In fact, some of them might even be in the chat. And it's wild. I had someone today literally be like, "I need to tell you, I just got Zepbound," and I'm like, "Well, how do you know that I'm not?" Oh, you're on my TikTok account.
Yeah.
It's wild. But for me, within my relationship, I've talked about this a lot. I didn't realize I wasn't fully participating in my marriage, right? I was not getting the groceries up the stairs. I was not doing a lot of things. One day, maybe like 4 months ago, our water heater broke. And I was downstairs cleaning it up, and my husband looked at me and I looked at him, and we had this moment where we realized that this was not something that ever would have happened just a couple of weeks earlier, right? Like I was fully engaged in all of the parts of the work of being part of a couple. And it was wild because I didn't realize I wasn't until it was like food noise. I didn't realize I wasn't until I suddenly was.
That's powerful, Mike.
I'll talk a little bit about this one because I too had a child with obesity and put him on the medications when he was 17, and he's doing really well. And so there's 3 of us in my immediate family. And growing up, we always made a very big point of family dinner, and because I was so food obsessed, now I know what it was. It was the food noise, that I spent hours and hours each day cooking these glorious fancy dinners for my family, and we'd sit down and have a thing. And now we're just like, both my son and I are just like, just give me my protein, just give me my protein. my poor husband's like, okay, I guess we'll eat protein again. So like, it's really changed. It's changed like some of that family dynamic, but it's also nice because my son is a grown up. He's growing up now, right? I'm interacting with him more like an adult than a child I'm, raising. And it's very nice for me to be on the journey with him, and vice versa. We're handling it, I think, really well. And it's like, I feel very close to him because of it.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. So there's two parts of my journey. So there's the weight loss surgery part and being on a GLP-1. I think the GLP-1, in terms of its broader benefits, have enlightened my family. And so like I said, my daughter, she recently got on one because of her PCOS, and has been very involved in, my overall journey. All my family has been. And so I think that it makes me feel good that they kind of understand and embrace that, and that it's a tool that they have access to. With my son, who struggles and still struggling, it really was very difficult, similar to you, Joy, when he had a plan that wouldn't pay for the medication and he really needed it. And I remember about going on 2 years ago now, I was in Seattle. I was about to get ready to present on a panel advocating for access. And I get a phone call from my son, and he's sitting in the parking lot of the pharmacy. And he says, Mom, I just took my script and it's $1,500.
Mm.
So do I pay for rent or do I get medication? What do I do? And so that really broke my heart. And probably makes me advocate like I do because of that that you can be in the same family and not have the same access to the treatment that is necessary for you. So, that has been difficult. Going on about a year ago, my spouse, who has type 2 and has picked up weight, because he was always a thin guy, right? Always very thin, but it picked up weight. And so his diabetes was not under control. And so we had a colorful conversation around Easter time last year about the way that he was being cared for, and he wasn't really advocating for himself. And so I said to him, you are a cookie away from an amputation, and this is ridiculous, and we are going to take care of this. And so, and he had like hemoglobin A1C is like in the 8s and the 9s, that arena, like really dangerous stuff. So I went to his next appointment and said, listen to me, you and I both know that you're not providing the care that is necessary here, and that this man is really, it's not if, it's when is he going to have complications from his diabetes. Long story short, they switch him, they get him onto a GLP-1. He now has lost effortlessly 20 pounds. And his hemoglobin A1C is like 6, all the things. So it's just like, wow, this is like really life-changing. And I think that for me overall, I think one of the most special things that my daughter said to me recently is she said, Mom, I think that after you had weight loss surgery and you've been on these medications and you advocate so hard about this, she says, I think you've just really changed like our perception of what health is about in our household and our family. So, I won't steal it from Grandma Jay, but I'm going to keep going on the hill, even though I don't like these folks down here. I'm going to keep going because it's that kind of stuff, not only in my own family, but I feel every family should have. Everybody should have access to it.
Yeah.
Everybody should. So
I agree. Hi,
I,
Dave. Oh, sorry, Jay.
Now, I was
Hi.
just going to say, I think the conversation is going to shift heavily, the access conversation, when people actually start to understand what these medications can do.
Mhm.
And when we start to open up the conversation and actually have the full incretin conversation as well with people, I think that it's going to be mind blowing that ways that the doors are going to open for more people to gain access, because it's going to be one of the few things where it's going to be like, it only makes sense that we make this accessible. Because right now, I just think there's a lack of knowledge and empathy out there, and that's something we can shift.
I agree with you 100%. Words matter. I believe that the words that people choose to use when referring to these medications is very powerful. I'm going to give you an example. When people only refer to it as a weight loss shot, weight loss shot, weight loss shot, you're reducing every single other benefit that these medications provide when you just refer to it as the weight loss shot. Dave, every single time Dave starts his show, incretin mimetic therapies. That's what he says.
that's right.
Every single time. Words matter.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Please be careful with the words you choose to use when you're talking about these medications.
Going back to Raina's question, my partner is a type 2 diabetic. He's never really been obese, has been overweight off and on while we've been together. But he sort of benefited from the my journey, because as I started my journey, I really dove into learning everything I could about, metabolism and insulin resistance, and why my brain was working the way that it was. And so I've listened, I hiked a lot. And so I had these earbuds in with the podcast going from, somebody learning about the disease of obesity and, what causes it, and how important protein is, and how important protein is for people who are aging so they can build muscle mass. And all of this stuff as we move through our 50s are going to be increasingly important. And so I'm sharing this with him, and so now he's getting out and walking every day. He's I don't know, dropped 15 or 20 pounds that extra that he was carrying, and he is just much healthier now than he was before I started my journey. So that sort of periphery, or the proximity to my journey has impacted his journey. I think who I think about the most from the perspective of the impact, or unfortunately the lack of impact, is my mom was also a type 2 diabetic, and struggled off and on with her weight throughout her life, and was also a heavy smoker, and eventually passed from lung cancer. And I wonder, had medications like this been available, would that have helped with her diabetes? Would that have helped with the cessation of smoking? Would that have helped? Like, there's all these what ifs that sometimes go through my head when I think about how it makes me feel, and I'm not as compulsive about certain things. Would that have had the same effect? And so I think being sort of the early adopters, if we can call ourselves that, 20 years into GLP-1 therapies.
Yeah.
But I feel like that the people who just missed it, that's who I think about. Like in my family, the people who just missed the benefits of this, and what could have happened if it had been available.
That's a great
Wow.
point.
I agree, Chris. I agree. My mother lived with it too. Died at 71. Massive heart attack.
Yeah.
I often wonder. I often wonder.
Dave, thanks for
Hi.
jumping in.
Yeah. I guess that's the benefit of this being on the pen, is that when I have the bandwidth, I can pop in. I would love nothing more than to be with you all 3 hours every single Friday night. But we
Fill out
but
an
we do
application.
appreciate- What's that?
Fill out an application online.
Did you subscribe?
I did. They don't get back to me. I don't know if the email's going to the right place.
She doesn't have your email.
That was good. Yeah, no, we've got 3 down with influenza A in our home, my wife included, but she's a absolute machine. I've been listening all night, doing all the things around the house, and I was like, this is just such a great conversation. And I was like, can I please, like, everybody's watching the Iowa game. We're big Iowa basketball, Iowa everything here. So like, everybody's occupied. This is what I do now. I maybe used to care about sports. I don't care so much.
I lost Dave.
I don't
Okay.
care about sports so much anymore. Sorry, I accidentally muted myself. But anyways, yeah, just a couple of things I wanted to jump and say. The conversation has been so good tonight. Always is, and everyone here has I just appreciate what everybody's perspective tonight. It's always the magic of this live is like everybody on the panel has such a unique perspective, and there's always something you can draw out from absolutely everybody who has the courage to share. So I want to just say kudos to all of you for having the courage to share, because it's hard. I have this platform on the pen, and it's like this thing that I never 2 years ago when I started making a video on YouTube could have imagined that it would be. And it's not that it's this big extravagant thing or anything. It's just bigger than I thought it would be. And so I find myself kind of taken back by it sometimes. And I just think, like, with all the things that we talk about on the pen, the news, the hardest part for me to do and the fewest videos that I have are exactly what everybody's talking about tonight. And I think that's why I really love these panels and why I really wanted Sabrina to bring it over to OTP, because it's like, I'm the guy who's kind of sitting, watching and going, I have things to say too, but I don't want to say that, you know? And so I do, like, it sounds dramatic, but it's courageous to come on here. Like, I think of Dr. Joy, like a lot of people come on here and, like, I don't consume a ton of content because I'm always making it and following. If I'm not making content, just know that I'm reading something somewhere, just consuming very little. But I think of Dr. Joy and her conversation with her kids about how she's parented them and sort of shepherded them through life, and how maybe she had some shortcomings when it came to dealing with this disease. I think about my own experience. I could connect with that. And I also think of Coach Tedder. I think what you've shared with your son and the accessibility issues. And I mean, Raina, I'm new to you. Like, I always, as soon as I jump on, I'm like, I don't recognize them. And first thing I do is I go and I find you and I follow you. But you said, I think you have 5 kids.
Yes.
Did I? Yes. I didn't mishear that.
No, 5 kids.
That's amazing.
1 girl, 4 boys. They're my blessings.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
Do you say 1 girl and 4 boys?
The oldest is the girl, yeah.
That's amazing. So we have 4 in the Knapp household, 3 boys and 1 girl.
Oh, wow.
So, but we're, God willing, we're done.
I have
Yeah,
3 boys
we're
and 1
done.
girl also.
especially during flu week. But anyways, I can talk and ramble forever. I think it's amazing that you all come here and share your experiences. And I think this is just super, super powerful. A couple things that I wanted to touch on. I mean, there's 1,000 things that I want to touch on because this is such a great conversation. And it's just like all night. I'm like, I wish I was there. And it was like, oh, wait, I can be. Is everybody good? All right, everybody's good. So Sabrina's talking about how language is important. And like, it's tough as a creator. It's tough as a communicator. You're always towing this line because it's a chicken or the egg thing, right? We want the world to speak our language. We want the world to understand what incretin mimetics mean. But the reality is the stuff that people are going to Google for and analytical report after analytical report will show that people are looking for weight loss shots.
Yeah.
And so creating content that reaches those people sometimes involves using that language that is less than savory for those of us who know. And that's always a tough thing for me, right?
Mhm.
I know that Jeannie works with, I think you work with Join Fridays, don't you, Jeannie, in a marketing
do.
capacity or some, yeah. So
Yeah.
I hope that's like public knowledge. If not, breaking news. But I mean, you know, like it's sometimes to be able to help people, it's you sometimes have to embrace the less than savory and know that the end goal is that they're going to bring them into the fold, and then they're going to see the articles that I write and listen to the rants that I rave about how these are metabolic modulating drugs. They're not weight loss shots. They're weight loss shots to everybody who is grown and ingrained and sort of hardwired to believe that your struggles are your fault and nothing more. We know better. And I think the beauty of it is that regardless of the language that you we have to use to bring them in here, that ultimately, if we can bring them into the tent, and there are hundreds of millions of people, if we can bring them into the tent, ultimately they will hear so much of the truths that have been shared by each one of you sharing your stories tonight, that it's not your fault, right? And it's not a moral failing that has you on this yo-yo journey, right? I mean, the common undertone tonight is like, I've lost more weight than you weigh in my life, maybe multiple times over. Like, we know how to lose weight. Chris, I think you've alluded to it multiple times. I think Dr. Joy's alluded to it, Jeannie. But anyways, I just think it's super powerful what everybody's sharing. And then, you know, Chris, when you were just talking about, you know, I think you were talking about your mom. I jot notes, and I think I'm going to understand my notes later. And then I'm like, what does this mean? Like Jay, I wrote what they can do. I was like, I don't know. I don't know what to do with that, Dave. You should have wrote more. But I'm trying to listen and take notes. But anyways, Chris was talking about insulin resistance and the what ifs. Like, what if the people that came before me that struggled with this in my family tree would have known or had access to? You even alluded to, I think, the fact that these are 20-year-old drugs, and can we really consider ourselves pioneers? 100% we can. Even though the drugs have been around for 20 years, like what we learned from the OFA, because the drug companies are tight-lipped, right? We can see by their bottom line, they're selling a lot of these drugs, but it's like pretty hard to determine. I think they say, you know, hundreds of thousands of people are getting on the branded versions every week. Hundreds of thousands. We learned from the OFA and their trial, in the compound trial, that were 80 million compound scripts filled in 2023. Those are 2023 numbers. That's before most of us were making content and selling this 24/7 like it was QVC for weight loss shots.
Yeah.
It was probably well over 100 million last year. It'll exceed that this year, even with the hiccups. And that's compounds. Way less than the branded. So we're talking about, at this point, maybe 50 million people in the United States. And I think that's honestly a conservative number, that are on these medications, because again, many people who are on these medications are on them because they're weight loss shots, right? Right. It's not everybody who has these medications are living with obesity, but they're trying to defend against it, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's something that gets lost too in the conversation. There's a lot of people who are like, people who are skinny shouldn't be using this to lose 10 pounds. And I'm like, I don't know about that. If I have obesity in my family tree, if I have type 2 diabetes in my family tree, and I start to notice that my health is trending in the wrong direction, I mean, I should have access to it too. That's obviously not my story. But you know, you understand the point that I'm making. And with so many,
there's no need for us to play who has it worse in this situation, right? And I'm going to say that the sheer numbers that the compounds bring to the cause is only going to help all of us. Like, we're here able to do this because Jay mentioned it earlier. Always have to follow the money, right? And if compounds are such a big percentage of the dollar spend, like it matters for all of us.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean it's impacting way more people than I think we even know right now, which makes what is happening here and what all of you are doing, not only here tonight, but when you go out and make content and reach your people. I mean, it makes it just underscores the importance of it all to me. But I also think, in terms of two things, like we are pioneers because Byetta, Saxenda, Victoza, the numbers of people who had access to those medications, doctors who had the understanding to prescribe, et cetera, is completely dwarfed by what's happening literally in the last 24 months, right? That we are pioneers in a way. And that this is like the kind of stuff that people will look back on in 20 years and go, wow, like, it's like history. History is being written right now. And I think ultimately in 20 years, we literally could look back on this moment in these years and go, that was the beginning of the end of the struggle that people had. And the history books will look back on us and it will be like pretty amazing that people had to struggle through these things and that society treated it the way that it did. And so, like, I think of my dad too, Chris, when you're talking about your mom. My dad died at 54 of a massive heart attack. And I asked myself so many questions. Like, he wasn't even compared to me. And this is what like really kind of keeps me awake at night. Is like, he weighed 100 pounds less than I do. He smoked. I don't, but he weighed 100 pounds less than me. He died at 54. And so I'm looking at, and I do the math in bed when I'm laying in bed at night. I do the math. How old's this kid going to be? How old's this going to be? And if I'm gone when my dad was gone, how's that going to affect them at this age and this age and this age? And what life experiences are they going to have without me? And all these things run through your head. I just think it again, and then I'll say this and sign off because I just have so many thoughts and I don't want to take up the rest of the time here, but what is happening, like when you all go out, when you make content, it is so important. And the fact that so many of you share and weave in your own personal journeys is courageous. It is so hard for me to want to share that part of what I struggle with. It's just so hard. It's a way easier for me to sit in the comments and make sarcastic and funny comments because that's my defense mechanism against the struggles that I have. But it is courageous to come on here to share your story, to share your journey wherever you're at. And it's so important. I mean, it's more important than I think any of us that are sitting here even understand, because we get used to looking at these numbers and the dopamine hit of a like and a view and all these things. And those all represent human beings, human souls that have lives and stories just like we do here. And it's impactful. So I just wanted to jump on, give that encouragement, and just thank you all for joining. And sorry I couldn't be here at the beginning. That's how we've kind of been doing it, but didn't work tonight. So thank you all for being here and hanging out.
I'll take what I can get. Thank you so much for jumping on, Dave.
Thanks for jumping.
Thanks for having me. Thanks, and thanks for being here, everybody. I really appreciate it. And so does the community.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Feels better.
Thanks for being here, y'all.
That was a nice treat.
Yeah.
So we are at the end of our panel. I am going to ask everyone for their closing thoughts. Dr. Joy, do you want to start us off?
Sure. This was an amazing conversation. The time flew by. I just am filled with gratitude. Every single time I have the opportunity to interact with members of this community in my support groups, online, in person, whenever it has been, it always just fills my cup so much. Knowing I'm not alone in this is a huge part of the journey, and maybe the best gift. That's really huge. I mean, the number of years I spent in shame about these things, and now I'm talking about them openly because I understand I'm not by myself. I don't know. I'm just really grateful. Thank you for inviting me and for all of you being so awesome.
Thank you for saying yes.
Anytime.
Don't say that to me. Don't say that to me, because I will have you here every other Friday.
And I am going to be, I will say this very briefly for people that do follow me or have used to interacting with me more. My grandfather passed away on Thanksgiving Day, and then I became very involved with my grandmother's care. She was 95, and then she passed away on Super Bowl Saturday. So that has been one huge thing going on in my life, and there have been some other things like with that. And then also I was writing my book proposal, which took up a lot of time. So now that that is submitted, I'm past the hardest part after losing my grandparents. I am coming back with content. Can't wait to do it. Very excited to rejoin the community, and y'all be on the lookout for it. Love you.
Mike?
I think my closing thought would be, we're kind of in unprecedented times right now, but we're in unprecedented times. It seems like it's every 3 months here in this community. And, stay patient. Things change. Things move really fast. And so if anyone's out there panicking, it's okay to panic, but it's okay to look to the support systems that you have here online for us to all keep each other calm. And think about the access stuff that we talked about today, because it's so important that we all figure out ways to help as many people as possible be well.
Mm. Thank you.
Well, now my closing thoughts are kind of around access too, because I have a very finely honed pattern recognition and ability to kind of sense what's going on in the world. And I don't see any reason for us to panic right now. And I'm talking specifically for the people on compounded medications first, because, that is looming in our community. But this is such a big movement. If we have a hiccup, it's just going to be that. It's a hiccup. Look at glasses, right? Now everyone has glasses that needs them. We have this, whatever's breaking the metabolism, the metabolic health of people in our modern culture, it's there, right? It's not going to go away. And as societies, these things have to be treated. And now we know that they can be. So if there's a blip, it's going to be short-lived. I just feel so positive about the outlook of everything. I think it's bright. The future is bright.
The future is bright. Yeah. I love that. Chris?
I agree with the statement about unprecedented times. Like Mike said, every now and again, I feel a little overwhelmed that we finally have an effective medical treatment for what so many people have been struggling with for their entire lives, and what their parents potentially struggled with for their entire lives. So that's one of the things that I think about. And the other thing is really just find good sources of information, because there is a wealth of information that's available out there, not only just on GLP-1 medications, but also just in general health and wellness and how to make your body strong and healthy. And so find good sources of information and think about your health overall and less about the number on the scale. Because that's, going to change over our lifetimes. But the health is the one thing that should remain. So remain focused on that.
I love that. Raina?
To those who are on this currently, I just, want to commend everybody and just say, keep putting your story out there, keep letting people know firsthand our real life experiences to try to, educate and remove some of the ignorance regarding these medications and some of the, the trolls out there who, try to deter people from taking this. Keep, speaking out about it so that those who need it can get on it. If you're trying to get on it, advocate for yourself, continue to keep doing your research and find, what's comfortable for you, a comfortable pace for it, and just don't stop fighting for yourself, because the insurance companies are going to do what they want to do. The doctors are, learning more about it, but you have to be the first one to speak up for yourself. If you feel that this is going to help you, make sure that you're out there, trying to get help. And just everybody just keep chugging along. We're gonna get there, and it's gonna all work out. Just have some patience with everything. So that's all I want to say. And thank you guys for having me on here. I have enjoyed speaking with each and every one of you, and I've learned something from each and every one of you. So thank you.
Thank you. Jay?
All I have to offer is a command. It's a simple command, but it's also very complicated.
Okay.
And everyone should take this how you need to take this. Don't be afraid. Whatever that means for you right now, don't be afraid. Whether it means about fear about your journey, whether it means fears about access, because we are not going back to whatever place we've been to. We know better. We can do better. We're stronger. We are not in this alone.
Mhm.
Don't be afraid.
Mm. Love it.
I love that.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah. I guess it's on me, huh? So I'll say this. I'll say that community, collaboration, and courage are the secret sauce to change.
Mm-hmm.
We're stronger together. Never give up. Never give up.
I love that. Dave?
I'm not sure really how I ended up back in the stream. I don't know if that was Tay or if it was me fat fingering something. And honestly, I don't know at which point I ended up back in the stream, because I was just listening and then I looked up and I'm like, I'm on the okay. So okay.
That
So
was Tay.
so here I am. I don't know.
That sounds like Tay.
Hopefully I wasn't flicking bugs or whatever.
The Lord works in mysterious ways.
And on that note, that's an excellent tee up. I will leave everyone at least for my part. When I do a live stream, I do a show every Thursday night here on OTP, and it's just a fun. I do it because I love it. Honestly, I don't do it because a million people watch it. I do it because I just genuinely love this community, and I just enjoy spending my little pocket of time that I have each week with them. And I always think about it in terms of the fact that no matter how many people show up, it represents a soul, a life, a story that even though I'm not connected to directly and I don't know the story and that soul and that human, I always just want to bless them in whatever way that I can. So I'll leave you with the blessing that I give every week at the end of OTP Live. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May he cause his face to shine upon each and every person within the sound of my voice, and may he be so gracious to you. Have a great week, friends.
I love that. Thank you.
Sabrina?
My closing thoughts are just I'm going to encourage everyone to remember why you started this journey. Remember, so when you are going to make your decision, whatever that is moving forward, please remember your intention was to become healthy. So when you are going to, whatever decision you decide to make, please just do your research and move forward with that in mind. So I love you guys. I will always be here for you. We will, everyone up here will be that we are a community and we will get through this together. So I'm sending all of you love. Thank you to the panel. Thank you to the chat. Thank you, Dave, for making this space for us. It's just, and I love that people can now come back because we're no longer tied to a date and time. I can't tell you how many people are like, oh, I caught the panel because now it's here. So Thank you so much. And for everyone who was here in the chat, you guys have been amazing. I tried to watch some of the comments, but for thank you so much for being here, everyone. Thank you, Louis. But so for if you guys are still here, do me a favor, after the live is posted on YouTube as a video, do me a favor and drop a comment in the chat, or drop a comment of any questions you want the panel to address next time. I just want to see if anyone's got any questions for us that they want us to answer. So I love you guys. Thank you guys so much for everything.
All right. Take good care, you all. It was wonderful.
This
All
was
right.
wonderful. Thank you guys.
See you.